We're slowly starting to get all the runbacks between all of the teams currently participating in Street Fighter League Japan, which means only one thing. We're getting closer and closer to those playoff implications. We're going to see which of the teams are going to be making it into the top 6 spots. With all the runbacks that are going to be happening, we're starting to see some of the strategies really come to fruition, and really some of the planning be beneficial to all the teams that are currently going forth. My name is Vicious, here with St. Cola, and I got to ask you real quick before we get into it, how do you feel about the runbacks that are going to be coming up week after week?
Bro, I'm super excited. I mean, even last week showed us that we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody can call what's going to happen because there were new W's coming through. And a lot of these players, as you have pointed out, developing new strategies, developing new tactics, really acclimating themselves to the meta, and also having new character choices. This allows them to get more W's and get more wins as they try to stay in that qualification area. Only 4 teams will remain in the qualification area as the first place team will take it and be in the grand finals, waiting in the wings for those other 4 players to come through. That means 5 teams in totality will be qualifying for the finals of playoffs to see who's going to fight the US and the EU. But again, it's hard to tell who's going to get these W's in these runbacks because they've had time to think about, oh, what should I do in this situation? What character should I pick? And so we're seeing something different. But either way, it's going to be some fantastic Street Fighter V play out here at Street Fighter League Japan.
That's without a doubt, right? We've seen what happened between the first set of runbacks. We had Good 8 Squad go up against Shinobiism Gaming, Saishun Kunstol Kumamoto go up against Nagoya Oja Body Star, Mildon Beast as well. We're starting to see some of those differences happen, right? Now we're going to see Camouflage Detonation go up against V6 plus FAV Gaming. And just to kind of mention for those at home that haven't really been paying attention to the league just yet, there is a lot on the line. 8 million yen in total for the prize pool, 5 million being distributed to first place, 2 million to second, and of course $1 million going to third. But that's not all. Again, the winner going to be facing off against the other champions of Street Fighter League for Europe and US over at the Big Dance Capcom Cup. And again, we see the home and away team, right? We talked about that time and time again as we get ourselves ready for our team introductions, right? The away team is going to be setting themselves up with their roster and player order with the character selection, while the home team gets to pretty much strike at the counter and get a counter pick against that said order. The first 2 games are going to be 2 out of 3 worth 10 points apiece. The last game being 3 out of 5 is going to be worth a whopping 20. If there's ever a tie, we do have that sudden death tiebreaker worth 5 points where anybody on the team is back into the fray, can be nominated back into the fray, I should say. But going into it, both of these teams, again, we're looking at playoff implications thus far with the leaderboards with V6 plus FAV Gaming. They're currently at 130 points. Camouflage Detonation trailing pretty much right behind them at 100, right? We're actually looking for who's in a place between 2nd through 5th. And we're going to get it. Starting things off with V6 plus FAV Gaming. Sakuroko being the captain, the sheer spear. Rocking it out with Minot, trying to prove that this character is still pretty viable. Whereas the Genius Gamer Tokido pretty much gravitates towards top tier, as he should. And of course, the Executor of Justice delivering the judgment, Papa Bonchan. I hope he had a fun Halloween with his twins, also representing the Luke. Tori Meshi, the Subspace Subsara, rocking the Dhalsim, being the wild card of the team, bringing such a great pivotal synergy and such a strong tool to this this powerhouse.
Talk about powerhouses, we gotta talk about the dynamite that comes through from Team Detonation. First on the deck is the meal ticket himself, Itabashi Zangief, or G, or Alex, whatever you want to call him. He's been running multiple characters. And right beside that is going to the side of the Brave Nauman, the Evo Japan champion. After that is the trickster himself, John Takuchi, with the ever tricky Cody play. Last but not least is the ace return, the aggressive Rose himself, Urio, has been putting in a lot of work for the team with this character, taking people off guard with his, not only this the choice of character, but aggressive style. These 2 teams, again, are vying for as many points as possible. This is the run back. Previously, it was Team Detonation's W that really set the pace for V6 in terms of saying, even gods may bleed. V6 was the ones that previously won the Street Fighter League Japan champion last year, but this year, they're in a lower sort of situation. They're at the bottom spot or close to the bottom spot. They're at 6, Detonation at 7, and now we see the characters. Vicious, what do you think about these choices?
So this is actually kind of wild to me. Knowing full well what the record was from their last run back, Bonchan was the only one who actually scored a W from their last encounter, and he's the one getting put on the bench. So it leads me to think Sakonoko and Tokido, they have something up their sleeves, right? It leads me to think that maybe they're looking for their retribution and try to get some points on the board. Tori Meshi coming up though, being the only, like one of the few Dalsim players other than YHC Mochi in the roster, I feel like Dalsim has been like the, I guess, the target for a lot of people, right? People want to look forward to counterpicking the Dalsim because some of the matchups, some of the bad matchups could be kind of volatile, but I feel like the way that Tori Meshi's been playing, I don't think he's going to be susceptible to any sort of like counterpick weaknesses, but we'll see how it plays out, right? The last time Tori Meshi was up, he played against Nauman, he fell short, and it was the Dawson versus Luke. But from looking at the pregame show, I think Hamiko had suggested that Itabashi go up against Tori Meshi instead of one of the Lukes.
Oh, okay. Itabashi actually is going to be the one on the deck, so Hamiko calling it right. Itabashi not doing super bad up in, for the season, 3-2 so far. His last appearance, he was defeated by Yamaguchi, but I like his sort of wild style that comes with this G. I know we talked about that with Johnny, but I feel like Itabashi stabilizes by just adding a few more command grabs in his game plan, which really puts people off guard. And the threat, the idea of the command grab, the idea that I might have the grip to do it, puts people off their pace. So for Tori Meshi, he's going to have to rely upon that game plan where, you know, he's very mobile, which he always has been, you know, always moving around, stay off the ground as much as possible. And Tori Meshi said, as I expected gameplay-wise, I wanted him to come and play against me. So Tori Meshi, this is what he wanted. This is what he was looking forward to. So again, I think you were right in pointing out that this team has strategy to send up Tori Meshi. He had lost previously, but this time he might have a chance for that W.
We'll see how this plays out, right? Looking at the roster of characters that Camouflage Detonation could have put up and you know, try to snipe out this Dalsim. I think still G is going to be a good and valid character, right? Being able to close the gap pretty quickly and also kind of be like a wall of normals, and also have like a very solid projectile to kind of contest against Dalsim as well. Right, you're looking at the things on paper, you're looking at the matchup on paper. I think G overall has like the proper kit against characters like Dalsim, being able to stuff out some of the normals preemptively, just throw out a lot of activity on the screen with their normals because of the active frames. And just fireballs in general. I think Dalsim doesn't do too hot against fireballs, especially ones that kind of like are angled towards the ground, right? G is a very unique character in that sense, where I think he's the only character that has a fireball that like goes towards the ground like that. The only other one I could think of is possibly like Jury, whose fireball is automatically coming from the ground on startup. But it presents a really big problem for Dalsim, right? They can't navigate their way past the fireball game as conveniently as they normally would against, say, like a Laura or like a Shoto.
That's true. And also, you got to think about the fact that if you throw out the fireballs yourself, you know, you try to throw out the EX fireball to lock down the neutral that we typically see from Sim to really apply those plus frames in the mix with a teleport right behind. That's kind of invalidated if G gets to level 3, or if he uses the EX flip kick, because that flip kick gets right through. You're only -2, and that's the right range where you don't want to be able to fight Sim. And going back to the fireball game, if you get level 3 against any of these limbs, that's a knockdown into you getting that strike throw range game plan where you exactly want to be. And I think someone like Itabashi will be able to stock up very well. Tori Meshi is going to have to be on his toes continuously outside the ranges where, you know, those fireballs are going to land. He's going to have to be very adept at avoiding back fierce, like the anti-air, avoiding things by floating outside the distance, and applying enough pressure where Itabashi is going to have to choose between V-reversaling or holding onto that V-bar and possibly making a comeback. But again, I think that G does do a fantastic job. But Tori Meshi, he's such a different sort of Sim. He's so active. He's so flighty. He's always moving. It feels like there's never a time where he is stuck on the ground. In the first two, I think that Tori Meshi is going to be hard to lock down overall. So hopefully Itabashi has a game plan against that movement and movement. Remember, 10 points are on the line for this first match, and we'll see what happens as these two players come up on the deck. Itabashi says, I've played many matches against Tori Meshi Sim. I'm very curious to see what their record was previously, but right now what matters is getting points up in this league.
Yeah, and overall I think there's a lot to be said in regards to like the matchup, just to kind of like summarize it, or at least add on a little bit of context to it. One of the biggest things about G, no pun intended, is actually his stature too. Like his bigger hurtbox, or above average hurtbox, right? It leaves him susceptible to like a lot of things, to being able to get hit from above a little bit sooner than most. So I'm actually kind of curious to see if Torimeshi is going to utilize that to his strengths. I mean, we've seen that Dawson doesn't really need to. He does have like instant air snipe outs with like jump back jab, jump medium kick, etc. So we'll see how this plays out, right? It's the big fella, the big man versus stretchy limbs. G versus Dawson. Here we go, game one.
Oh, already getting a bump from the knockdown, but Torimeshi right back in, trying to get that knockdown situation to just delete that level 3 presidentiality. You want to get the knockdown on G as soon as you can, and so he's gonna be looking for slide. There's the ace fireball, but just a jumper from Itazan, keeping caged up in the corner.
And we already see Itazan not too bad straight. Okay, that's going to be a little bit of a problem, right? Cooking up, and yeah, that's one of the things I was looking for, right? What is Itazan going to do with this meter? And in fact, Torimeshi, the one kind of overstepping his boundaries, using a fireball. Itazan completely going with the smash under, completely countering Torimeshi with the smash under. Excuse me.
And that V-bar for the V-reversal. A lot of great life. That hit took a ton of damage off the side of Itabashi. One more hit.
Oh,
EX from downtown, able to flip him before he can. Oh my God, this is over. This is a wrap like that. What great timing from Itabashi. You see him giggling at the fact that he robbed that man.
He sure did, right? After Torimeshi had landed that medium kick, Itazan immediately went for the smash under, and it caught Torimeshi pressing a button, right? There was a counter hit, another counter hit coming from Itazan from some of these smash overs and unders.
But the smash overs and unders don't get punished that well from Sim unless he's using a lot of bar for it. And it's not going to be doing a lot of damage, so Itabashi content to go for these trades and these situations just to get close enough to enact that pressure. One more good block for that V-trigger or hit. There it is, Itabashi. I'm going to activate.
Oh my God, he actually caught Torimeshi. Airborne. One more sequence and it's over. You know, it's actually it. Itazan is actually a genius for that one. Covering Torimeshi's escape options via movement. You've talked about this too. You talked about Torimeshi being a very slippery fella, right? He can be pretty elusive. He opts to go for movement on defense more often than not. And Itabashi was completely ready for it 2 times over.
And that's part of the G game plan, using that V skill to kind of knock him down too as well, going for these uppers and finding a lot of reward with some of this risk. And I feel like it's more reward than risk in a lot of these situations. Again, not a lot of big punishes, all these uppers, especially if they're well spaced up in this place. The first game to Itabashi, and already Torimeshi on the back foot a bit.
Oh. And I like this thus far. I like the range that Itazan is playing at too. Oh my God, we talked about putting activity on the screen. Crouching heavy punch hitting towards the tail end. Torimeshi putting a limb, or trying to put a limb through it, but that's not the case here. V-shift out of there. Torimeshi does get an opening to at least get a side switch, and Itazan still trading off against limbs against the dive kick.
Black.
And now, yeah, I love him shifting the hitbox with jump medium.
Fantastic play right here. With the activation off the low, actually get some damage off it, not even on block. About to make this man drop. One more good sequence. See, look at, oh! A throw.
Just
same thing.
Grab. We'll take it. Match point now for Itazan.
Oh, the throw. Torimeshi getting a lot more active, a lot more buttons, and a lot more throws. I like this throw game coming through. EX from the air right there. The Gale V-reversal. Itabashi has him right where he wants him until he whipped that command grab too far out in the distance. Didn't get that walk up to do it. Now Torimeshi riding this momentum, but you know that it could be a comeback at any point from Itabashi. The bar at the bottom.
It's gonna be so difficult. He can't get touched once. Man, again! Using those active frames on the crouch immediate punch, catching Torimeshi off guard, and it was so close. That was actually super close. Torimeshi went for jump as an option. He's smiling and laughing because he knows that was a close call. Itazan actually made the right prediction. It was just too far off the mark. It was like actually barely outside the range of V-skill.
And if you lose that round, like, you just understand that you have put this person in a perilous position continuously. You put him in the corner, you have harassed him so much, you're adding up on their mental stack, and that could be a win. But Tormeshi getting into him, close range is fireballs, but the upper puts him down to the ground and immediately stocks up the presidentiality feature at the bottom of the screen. Itabashi looking for an activation. He's gonna have to do something real soon. EX, V reversal, blocks it out. Flip kick right after, yes sir.
Waiting for that. We haven't seen grab option exercise at all. It's finally showed off on the table. Close to stun, a throw, do it. Solo normal. He does it again. He is on back-to-back command grabs. I love that call, and it's so difficult. It is absolutely so difficult to keep a guy like Torimeshi grounded in place. Super impressive play. I was waiting for this Itabashi to come to light. Already starting things off with pretty much a very, very convincing victory. 2-0 against Torimeshi from the side of Capcom Fighters Nation's captain, Itabashi.
Doing a fantastic job of just, again, risk and reward, but having a lot of reward on his risk, understanding that Sim isn't going to piece him up in these -4, -6 situations as much as you would typically see from other characters. And if he gets those knockdowns, he's either going in for Oki, he's either getting in that distance where he doesn't have to deal with those limbs, or he's stocking up for that presidentiality to really put some pain with the projectiles or the flip kicks over the fireball and just put him in the corner, harassing him. The game plan was definitely structured and on paper, and he didn't deviate, and that got him the W. Good stuff to Itabashi. And oh man, the command grabs, they said, just V-shift. Just V-shift, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. V-shifts in the game, command grab characters are deleted. Itabashi proving that is not the case.
Yeah, and I was wondering when that was going to come to fruition, right? I wanted to see whether or not Itabashi was actually ever going to go for the command grabs. I'm glad that he made it so, like, it was in a moment where it was like not obvious, like not too obvious, because of the way he's been kind of like going through the wheel of options, right? He's shown off V skill to chase down normal. So he's shown off meaties, he's shown off tick throws. It's been very tough to call what he's going to do. I'm glad that he saved it for nationals, so to speak, and used it at the very end, because even Torimeshi was like, nah, he's not going to do it. It's too late. It's too obvious, right? It's too obvious at this point.
But worked out really well. You see the anti-airs right there. I think that's part of the tail of the tape, is chasing down somebody who is so elusive like Torimeshi that goes for a lot of the V-skill float. That V-skill on the side of Itabashi, we saw him harassing him in the corner, was such a fantastic play. The flip kicks, the back fierce anti-airs right there, catching this character continuously and denying the jump ins also from this character too as well from the Sim side. There's such just structured game plan from Itabashi. I feel like if you want to learn how to fight that matchup, you watch someone like Itabashi take down Torimeshi, as we just previously did. Now we're going to see who's going up against Sako. Personally, I thought it was going to be Itabashi that was going up against Sako, but now I'm not sure who I would send up. I'd like to save John T for the end, for the anchor position. So maybe Urio should go up.
I think Urio is going to be that character. Yep. Urio Rose is going to be the choice, right? Urio has been pretty phenomenal, actually, in these last couple of matches, right? I think he's a very emotional player, and he plays very well off of instinct and also off of reactions to the Street Fighter ace of previous iterations, right? So that's going to be pretty intimidating. Sakonoko coming in from a loss against Combo Fund Nation. He's looking to redeem himself with Minot, and he's been doing pretty well for himself also, keeping it true to his character. But again, the last time we saw him play, he lost. Actually, no, he didn't even get to play, for that matter. This is going to be his first time up. My mistake. I might have misspoken earlier, but Sakonoko, he didn't get to play last time. So he's going to be a very, very interesting player to put up there, as we don't know how this is going to match up against Combo Fund Nation. So Minot versus the Rose. This is a matchup that's not only like famed in lore, obviously, Rose and Minot, teacher and student, but we have a pretty aggressive Rose at that. I think Urio is one of the few Roses that kind of just like come out the gate swinging. But on paper, this is a matchup that we rarely get to see, like in general, right? Just basing it off of what I've seen, like from experience, like as an individual, like individual characters, I think the fact that Rose has a fireball is going to already present a somewhat of a problem against Minot up until Sakonoko is going to be within range to reflect it, right? So we'll see. We'll see how this is going to pretty much play off, I think, with V skills. It really depends on what the V set's going to be like, and that's really going to determine the pace, because I think overall, Minot outpaces Rose in terms of the normals.
I mean, there's also like a stylistic sort of matchup too as well. Sako being more the slugger style, we talk about how he loves to utilize those normals. He likes to be a lot more aggressive than typical Minot players who like to hang back until they get the V trigger, like to poke away with a few hits in here and there. Sako loves to be in close to mid-range, which is maybe not always beneficial for the character, but he makes it work. However, Uryo, that's where he likes to rumble in that same jungle. Like he's willing to fight like that. That's sort of his same sort of game plan with that aggression. So I'm curious to see how these two, who are almost in similar areas in terms of like play styles, I'd say Orio's a lot more aggressive, but the same like general area is going to work out. Uryo is doing a fantastic job right now. He is 3-1 the last time that he played. He beat Fujimura, and even previously he had taken down Shuto in the first one deathmatch. He's just such a hard cat to catch. To understand how he plays is so difficult because of that aggression. He'll take risks by doing sweeps every so often, but there's data behind it. Like, he's not just throwing out sweeps randomly. He plays with his heart, but obviously he's a very studious and studied player. He's doing it because, oh, I think there's going to be a gap. You're walking back, or I want to get some crush bar or some meter off a crush counter because I believe this is going to hit, and it does work out quite a bit. And he's gotten better and better as this league goes on. I feel like he's no longer a hidden weapon. He is one of the weapons of Kamufa detonation.
I was curious to see like how often Uryo kind of sends out those sweeps, right? You had mentioned it earlier. In previous matches, I think his spacing for both Soul Spiral, for like unsafe options, right? His spacing for Soul Spiral has been pretty on point. His usage of EX Soul Spiral when people don't anticipate it has been on point. And also sweeping max distance, although still being kind of like, punishable. It catches a lot of folks off guard. Like, sure, on paper, it's like, yeah, man, that's going to be highly punishable. But it's like, if you're not ready for it from like max distance, it's like you kind of second guess. I understand that. But we'll see if that's even going to come into play. As it stands right now, Sakonoko, again, I think no matter what Rose does, if it's unsafe, I think she'll be within range to punish it or get something pretty significant off of it. At least, like a heavier or a medium or heavy button. So I'm looking forward to seeing this interaction because I rarely get to see it personally.
Sako's definitely the type to spin that bar for the punishes. Like, Minot's not getting a lot of damage like off a punish unless she's spinning some bar. And a lot of Minot players would like to save it for super, but Sako's willing to spin that bar to get these punishes going. Understand that I need to have a better round start or keep these like leads as much as possible. Especially I get someone like Uryo who will never back down, who will always have his foot on the gas as much as possible. Like, I feel like Sako, again, is such a versatile Minot player. That's why he is the best, because he's willing to utilize all the options and not just wait for like one sort of game plan. We'll see whose plan works out better. This is the second match, Rose versus Minot.
It's a matchup we rarely get to see, and that's already a treat for all the Street Fighter fans, including myself out there. Like, I gotta say, man, this is an Uryo of all people, too. I've been a fan of his for a very, very long time. His aggressive Sakura style was one that everybody took note of, and people from the Valley who were Sakura players were definitely they definitely looked up to Uryo. Oh, already off to a great start. The crush counter too. Uryo navigating past the orb, finds an opening off the low forward, and also baits out a throw from Sakonoko.
He tried to get the EX, but unfortunately Sako knew there's a gap like that and now finds his own activation. Bad situation as we're taking to the corner. Oh, trying to get the reset with a grab, but that was all according to plan to Sako. Gets that stun. And needs one more sequence to get it done.
A lot of damage. And the throw, Sakonoko, as soon as he got that trigger, it was lights out for Uryo. So as great as Uryo's offense is, the question is now is like, how is he going to defend against an onslaught like that again from Sakonoko? If Sakonoko builds that trigger, Uryo is going to have to find a way to either force the meter spendage outside a trigger, like, there you go, like D-shift against Sakonoko, or figure out how to play against the 6 orbs.
It's difficult, too, because Sako definitely has some of the best setups in the business. It's like you're fighting a boss, and then the final boss comes right out when the trigger comes through. So Uryo already doing a better, he's doing a really stable job right now, but so is Sako as he pushes him in the corner. Fight with punish, the trade. You see that for Uryo. Just get the knockdown. You're sending a fireball, sweep off the feet, the 3-piece, and the EXDP. One more hit will seal it, and gets it off the low. There you go, Uryo. back in the game.
Ooh. And with a good amount of meter to boot as well. Sakonoko also sitting on full critical R. We see the EX Soul Punish starting things off. Sakonoko showing off the opening gambit with the orb, pushing through against Urio. Urio was totally fine with that. Close to stun. Instant air EX Soul Spark. Setting up. Oh, that's going to be on the other side.
For the low.
Yeah.
Urio.
I love that.
It's in with the and one. Oh, the mix set up shop for that express purpose.
Yeah, that was also super ambiguous as to what the offensive pressure was going to be like after that Soul Punch is in. Although it is quote unquote off screen, you kind of see like tidbits of it, like maybe like an eighth of it on the screen. So it's still there. It's still going to detonate. So you are going to be susceptible to like instant overheads. Like I think like jump short has a pretty good hitbox on it. So like meaty jump short would cause like a fuzzy guard scenario, and that's the scariest thing. It's like if you're a man like Sako who is like studied and studious, right? He is a lab monster. He knows that option is a thing, so it's thinking now he's gonna be overthinking it. It's like using your pro instincts against them. You know what I mean? It's like, oh well, you know, this overhead is not really like a likely option, but it is an option. So I'm gonna probably have to like block high and guess. So that 50-50 either way, like even though it was blocked and guessed correctly, you still have to block afterwards, or the mix is gonna be on incoming. So very smart decision making from Urio, just forcing a multitude of 50-50s. And eventually catching Sakonoko off guard.
I mean, I want to pull it back to that, which you had pointed out, playing to the pro instinct. We saw him do dash up, crouch fierce, catching Sako off guard, and getting a ton of damage on the deck. Uriel playing the tendencies of how Sako would like to play. And also, you see the matchup knowledge too. EXDP against the dive kicks coming through. That had been a big deterrent in some of his setups and things like that. And all of this is adding up in too much mental stack. Let's see how Sako puts on the defense. And heck, we didn't even see the V trigger come through or any V bar you really utilized except for like D shift from Sako early in the round. So yeah, that shows to me that Urio is in his head.
Yeah, a little bit of reluctancy from Sakonoko, right, to use any sort of option with the V gauge, right? Because we've seen how damaging he can be with trigger, but man, look, Urio has just been so aggressive. Now, how do you handle it? Sakonoko is just forced to hold it. You can't V-reversal from this range. There we go. Going for the activation. I like this from Sakonoko. Fight offense with offense.
But no back throw, though. Still, more orbs on the deck to connect. Flips him with the counter hit. Extension with the combo. 2 more orbs. Let's spin him just yet. I like that. Covering his bases up in this place. In the DP for the stun. What a call-up from Sako. He needs a lot more damage. He does it. He's got the bar for the super, and he'll get it right off this last hit. This will do it. Light the way to at least a round going down, and staving off set point is Sako.
This only sets Urio up for a very, very aggressive start. Yet again, he could be pretty explosive. He could set up EX Soul Spark, Soul Punish, etc. But now it's gonna be all fireballs. That was so sick. Yeah, you get to cover that neutral jump. Oh no, he backdashed and there was still Soul Punishment on the screen. T-shift break out of there, the stun being reduced. Urio, yeah, Urio's in trouble now. Sakonoko slowly starting to regain that momentum against him.
It's a crush too as well. It helps build up a little bit of that V-bar. Like you see trigger a little bit earlier. Recall, V-skill. Now sets up shop for the recall once again. Explosion! I can play that same sort of orb explosion game too, but caught the dive kick at that distance. Urio stay at the right place and space to delete that dive kick, and he is, as you said, more than dead on set point.
Man, Urio bobbing in and out of his seat too. I feel that. I feel that emotion. And what's cool about that is that entire sequence, and one, it had another follow-up afterwards, but 2, he gets to save all the critical art. Ooh.
EX again. Lock him down the crush. Stopping Sako. The stun's rising. More good touch. The throw will get it done. And Urio show us something sick with it. Jump fierce, more than enough damage. Doesn't even need the EX to seal the deal. And was too much for even someone like Sako to deal with.
I gotta say, I think, you know, Urio he just may be the best Rose player in the world. I gotta say, like, he's got so many good reads against people, and he's gotten such a good, like, offensive kind of pattern to him and good conversions to him. Like, he understands, like, what ranges he needs to play at and also the counters he needs once he gets players in those certain spots. Like, he was hitting Sakonoko with an anti-air from, like, medium length or higher or further, right? Like, as soon as he saw somebody jump the Soul Spark, he's like, oh, I've already practiced for this scenario. Let me just have you run into it. EX Soul Spiral into like a bounce off of that too. He's been super aggressive, and it's just been very satisfying to watch. I genuinely think Urio might just be like the best Rose player out there, just offensively.
I agree, bro. Like, that might even be a cold take at this point, considering how well that he navigates with his character. I feel like for a lot of people that may not think Rose is strong, you see the capabilities of this character. Post-stun fun, you saw what he did, having an explosion on the screen to keep things really ambiguous. The harassment with this character, that I've never seen this sort of aggression from a Rose player, or not even other characters in the same sort of way, where typically we think her being a zoner, her having to set up shop for, you know, these orb situations, it felt like Oriel just had a game plan and all this momentum, and it was hardly ever stopped. In the anti-airs, I also want to point out the fact that he was deleting the dive kicks off the table. That was such a good entry point for Sako. He either used medium punch to get a nice little counter hit combo, or he utilized EXDP if he felt like it wasn't going to come through. And it's situational awareness too, utilizing the EX Soul Arrow to just get a knockdown after the follow-up with the fireball. And as you put it, the right spaces too as well, to not get punished continuously, made it too much for Sako to deal with. We really didn't even see that many activations from the side of Sako in general. There was one or two, but it wasn't enough to get through. And Sako, in the spectator stands, and Alphabet Detonation, poised to take this, poised to get another W, poised to double jeopardy this team.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a problem though with it's going to be a problem with 20 only having like 20 points, right? I think for V6 plus FAV Gaming, it gives themselves an opportunity to get maybe like a tie game scenario or a sudden death scenario. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think at this point you put up John T. You put up John T. You have him fight Tokido's Luke. John T, we saw how well he is able to fight Luke. That's how he was able to qualify. He defeated Otani in his World Warrior run to not maybe qualify, but at least get enough points to solidify himself for the top 8 spot. And I like his game plan. He knows how to fight at the right range, especially when he has the V-trigger knife equipped to delete all the normals that people have problems with when it comes to Luke. However, going to Tokido's side, man, Tokido, watching him at this recent CPT World Warrior event, it felt like he really has a better game plan with the character, where before he'd just be pecking away with lights and things like that. But now he knows how to convert into enough damage and stop going for, I'm just going to go for corner carry and target combos. He's hitting the right sort of combos and things like that to double the damage with Luke, and switching back and forth between this annoying style and his damaging style. And I think this is the way to play for Luke, at least for Tokido. Like, he has found his rhythm, his momentum. He has not really found it until recently. It felt like he's not really having the best results. But today may be the day. The team needs it.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that, right? I think the commentators Yamato and Hameko were discussing the amount of Luke players and how successful they were, right? And it all came down to like how often they would land some of these critical hits, right? Low medium kick being one of them, standing medium punch or crouching medium punch being another, that lead into V trigger. There's a lot to really talk about in regards to Luke and his current kit, right? A very, very strong character, no doubt about it. But again, it doesn't necessarily yield success in the way that most people would think, right? We have one of the best players, one of the gods, right? Not having the greatest record with Luke and having to switch off between like Luke and Urien. Fact of the matter is, like, sometimes with Luke, you do absolutely need the perfect flash knuckles, especially for the high damaging corner combos, right? Sure, you can rely on maybe like EX flash knuckle off of a low forward to get like damage output and corner carry and things like that too. But I feel like there's just a lot more to it in regards to like what you can get in the corner, because mid screen, I think you're letting like most of your normals lead you to a couple of things: Oki scenario and the cornering position.
You have to switch it up. We've seen like the likes of like Mago be a little bit more stable with that, like saying, okay, I need damage now. I can't just keep going for Oki. They're blocking everything. They're teching perfectly. I need damage on the deck because I'm losing ground, and I'm slowly losing the round because they're starting to get the lead. It's hard to come back. Last time they did play though, Tokido went for the Urian, as you had pointed out, and it didn't work out. John T was able to take it over Tokido. I feel like Tokido's kind of been going for the Urian and a lot of these Cody picks, and it's not been working out. So I like him going for the Luke. Tokido had pointed this out when he had talked in his slight interview, but John says, it's my first game of the second half. I'd like to win this, to feel the good vibes for this half. And it'll definitely be good vibes because he'll be taking a ton of points, not only from the side of B6 FAV Gaming, but a ton home for his team. This is the final match between the two, or maybe the final match between the two teams. Let's see who's going to take it.
Yeah, this is like without a doubt, this is gonna be the final match between these two teams. Right? They don't get a third run back. that's how the format is here in Street Fighter League. But as it stands right now, like taking a look at John Tucker's current record against Luke in general, right? He hasn't played off against that many Lukes in the entirety of Street Fighter League, right? The only time he did play off against one, it was against Mago, and he fell short.
So he operates. Medium kick, counter hit. Great punish right here from Tokido. And harassing with that light punch, gets the target combo. This is where Tokido turns up like volume. He gets aggressive. Doesn't matter what character it is. Urian, Akuma. When he has been in the corner, he tries to do as much damage as possible, but Jonty's out of there.
He missed his crosscut. John Takeuchi was looking to pay the toll, but he bypassed it. As the mayor of Metro City, he's like, nah, man, you can put that away. It's fine. You don't have to bill me. Plus frames after that, yeah, V reversal, excellent choice. Oh, that was just a chain hammer fist.
Come through. Pressing the cranium, blessing the dome. Tokido one touch, and then medium kick will definitely do it. And you see how confident he is to utilize that button too as well. That has been whip punished by John Takeuchi. You know, the knife is a great way to play with that, but Tokido is feeling strong right now.
Get the big opener off the target combo. And speaking of openers, John Takeuchi capitalizing off of his life a little bit more than Tokido has because of the fact that he has EX Zong Knuckle charged up. And now John Takeuchi occupying those normals. Yes, sir! Tokido low forward into EX Flash. I like that a lot. Again, look at the amount of carry you get. That's going to be huge.
Big boy damage on the deck. Back medium punch, of course, for the plus frames. And not staying lane with that walk up throw, the knuckle sandwich. Keeping it me with the heavy kick and the light kick for the finisher, for the finesse. Tokido putting John Takeuchi to rest for this first match and looking super dominant. Looking very, again, more structured in his game plan. Not just going for slight little pokes, dealing out damage when need be, and when he puts him in the corner, harassing him more and more. But we'll have to see what's in store. This is just the first match. John Takeuchi having his button, his medium kick that he relies upon, to lead it off the table. We saw that being whiff punished. I think is a really good sign from Tokido, as like, okay, I know what you want to do. I know what your game plan is, and I know how to counter you. So good stuff to Tokido for the first match so far.
Yeah, I think, you know, Tokido pretty much has the game plan set against Cody. There were a couple of times over where John Takeuchi had been showing off his intentions with buffering a couple of times. Tokido had intentionally run into those normals of just pretty much walking and blocking and forcing some of these buffers to come out against John Takeuchi. But I will say, I think the layered offense that Tokido presented made it a lot harder for John Takeuchi to even find some of these openings because he couldn't, right? He got frame trapped a couple of times over into big damage. So Tokido doing a great job of keeping his offensive options ambiguous against this young man. So I want to see this again from Tokido. I want to see a very aggressive start. I want to see him occupying normals where John Takeuchi wants to throw him. Like, I think preventing that from happening is going to be a pretty good deal. And like, say you do get a standing medium kick blocked or whatever, like you're just building up more V gauge for yourself for the big finale. So we'll see how it plays out. Tokido again off to a good start, getting the first game.
Wrestling with that medium kick still, John Takeuchi builds up some of that EX bar at the bottom, and some damage when he lands those hits, and structures himself for that medium buffer right there. Heavy's off with the final fight target combo, pushing Tokido to the corner. You get that forward fierce, blocks in time to stay fine, and the EX. We're in the East Coast now.
There was a standing medium kick activation. There we go. Tokido off with a target combo, chasing him down. Back throw after. Another throw. And another one. Good roundhouse here. But no, he's waiting for the delay. He's looking for the frame trap.
Constantly jump ins. Punish though. EX from John Takeuchi. B reversal. Spin that B bar for something different. Set up B trigger. Now just to harass Tokido in the corner and keep him there with the offensive B reversal. Tokido has bar at the bottom in terms of EX and B trigger. We'll get through some of these fireballs. This defense from Tokido. Look at this defense. Until he got hit with the EX on and the throw. John Takeuchi put him down to the ground, dying on some dirt.
And that was actually super smart from John Takeuchi too. Like, he was taking note of Tokido walking forward into the ranges he was playing at. But this is even better. John Takeuchi still pressing a lot more buttons. Like, all right, you want to see me buffering? You gotta make me mess up first. I do like the standing medium kicks over and over from John. There it is again.
And I think not taking that off the table. It's been whip punish, but he's making a biggest because of that medium punch and because of the reward that John Takeuchi is finding. And it's building him up EX bar. Gray life on the side of Tokido. Can't find a way to activate, but look at this big lead here from John Takeuchi.
Tokido hasn't whiff punished that normal once thus far in this game. There we go. Perfect commentator's curse. Right what I asked for.
He said, I got you. Don't worry about it. But it's still just a prevalent button, and John Takeuchi's not taking that off the table yet. Rounds an activation. And why should you?
Any big opener for either player can lead to a lot. I mean, like, Tokido does have a bunch of meter on board, but it's not going to lead to a kill scenario. And no longer within threat of the thermal barrack. I love this from John Takeuchi, bulldogging his way forward against Tokido, but he does get the jump out. This is going to be pretty significant, but we'll see if Tokido actually ends up striking first. That standing medium kick from Cody is just so intimidating to even counter until the big mistake happens.
Okay, Tokido. Caught him walking back. Just like that, gets the crouch medium kick, ends it with the super, and is in the verge of taking this. Can he do this within 8 seconds? Except with the EX fireball, EX song, gets a counter hit, doubling down with it, and John Takeuchi making him fear that advancing EX fireball and think about too many things, saving enough bar for that sequence, and opening up with the medium punch. That was so smart. Have the EX fireball to cover all this range, and have the EX song to really get in and harass him. Man, trying to time out someone like Tokido, perfect stuff. Being able to chase down someone elusive like Tokido, I should say, was really good stuff here from John Takeuchi.
Yeah, and that was that last sequence presented a pretty good mind game, or at least a pretty good mix-up too. After the crouching medium was blocked, you had like the tornado coming through, so he didn't want to like even risk staying there. But at that point in time, I totally understand Tokido trying to like maybe like delayed tech also. We did see a counter hit on board, by the way. So John Takeuchi, again, that last frame trap, forcing Tokido guess at that very moment was a really rough shot to be in, right? I think Tokido, I don't know what it was, but he was definitely intimidated. I don't think he could have thrown out any sort of sandblasters, because by the time John Takeuchi got to his face, I think there was like 4 or 5 dashes over. I think like the first 3 still had like the projectile either on his body or right in front of Cody. So even like if he threw out a sandblaster, I think John Takeuchi was going to be protected no matter what. So that was a really smart sequence from John.
I also think that's really smart that he's not taking that medium kick off the table. I feel like that's such a big opener, builds him up bar. There's a medium punch and a light punch is coming up here from Tokido to kind of try to strike back. But if this is your game plan and it's working overall, don't take it off the table. He's confident in this button. He's confident in utilizing it and structuring his game plan around it. And he's finding reward. Anti right there, but here's Tokido on the ground, taking John Takeuchi down. EX, the tech, and now the medium kick connects. It gets him outside the corner with the EX Ruffian.
And clearly it's been a normal that's extremely difficult for Tokido to punish right now. And there we go, catching him, walking backwards, the low. We've seen how many sequences Cody can get off of a walk back. Oh my God!
Oh, the big drop. It's been too much more meter. Going for the offense, going for the Oki, but backs away. Nice, walked up right in that right range to get the light. He's found a button to contest against a medium kick, but you have to be in the perfect place to deal with it. You see the light punch coming through that extended range, the movement with that button. Here's John Takeuchi utilizing the crouch fears, the priority system to get a crush and the corner carry.
See a lot more of the projectiles coming into play from John Takeuchi. I think that was the most we've seen thus far in the set. Medium kick coming back into play. That is a big counter hit. Being able to get a stand fierce after that, that's disgusting. Look at the damage from the mayor. I'm telling you, he is one of the strongest characters in the Street Fighter lore. I promise you. I promise you I'm not making that up. John Takeuchi, man, he dishing out the big boy damage.
Sir. I like that he's utilizing the fireballs and heavier normals to deal with these mediums and lights coming from Tokido. Heavy Zonk right after. Tokido taking back his turn and looking for an opening. There again is the light to delete that medium kick off the table. But like, it's Oki and it's not a lot of damage. John Takeuchi is willing to take these risks to find reward. We've seen the damage that Cody can enact. He's still not deterred. There's the light. EX. B skill. No rupture for the Oki. EX sequence, reversal. New trigger was coming at some point.
Force it out of him. I do like that from Tokido. Standing medium kick range again. He's just so reluctant to even try to whip punish. There we go. That was a big counter poke with that. Anti-air into the side twist. There was a reversal from Tokido. I can't imagine what it was. Whatever that reversal was, it got blown up. Woo! John Takeuchi checking
the corner too.
Crouching medium punch, checking Tokido, and it was a very delayed crouching medium punch at that. Catching Tokido, pressing buttons in times where he shouldn't have. And I gotta say, there's a lot to be thought about in relation to like what Tokido needs to do. I think, you know, we talked about counter poking and whiff punishing. It's so difficult to do right now. And there were some instances too where Tokido had, I think he's had some pretty significant input errors with Luke. I imagine it's because it's I'm gonna outright say it. I think it's the peripheral. I think it's mostly because he's not used to like getting certain motions out. Like no matter how good he is with or how good he is a Street Fighter, I think there's a lot to be said in regards to like him missing some of the crosscut stuff, even like EXDPs. There was 2 reversals on the board, by the way. Or sorry, there was 1 reversal and then there was also 1 crosscut that we missed in game 1. But anyways, there was a reversal towards the end where John Takeuchi got the anti-air and walked under for an ambiguous 50-50. Getting the shortcut to that shouldn't be like too difficult, but I don't know what it is. There was a reversal. Maybe it wasn't EX because the meter wasn't spent, what have you. I can't tell, but either way, that's going to be John Takeuchi taking full advantage of that. It happens to the best of us. And I'm so reluctant to even say that because of how top tier like the talent is in Street Fighter League, right? It's just a very unorthodox kind of thing, very uncommon thing to see from someone like Tokido.
I do think that, like, you know, he probably has it in the lab, like he's A-OK training mode, but in these high stress situations where your team is right to get that W, it's a lot different, and he knows that, he understands that. But however, we're seeing something different as John Takeuchi is on game point, and he's getting a lot more aggressive in the neutral. The medium kicks are still there, but the medium punches are too as well. No anti-air, goes for low. Tokido getting real aggressive, and I like this from Tokido. Turn up like volume, get aggressive, utilize more of these normals, and occupy that space before the medium kick can even come out. Utilize the lights and the fireballs.
Oh.
What great time for the XDP.
That's something we haven't seen really exercised thus far, right? I don't think we've seen that option come out too much from Tokido throughout this entire set, but John Takeuchi now with the knife, he could get a ton of damage. He's trying to get a counter poke going against Tokido, but also bullying him in the corner, which is wild. We haven't seen Tokido throw out the crouching medium kick because of the fact that he could get whiff punished, right? Standing medium kick is an excellent choice instead.
Oh, yo, the crouch was able to get or stop that cross up from happening. John Takeuchi timing it right, but it's good night, Tokido. As I'll take that trade any day of the week. He got the help to play with, but imagine if he had less. Tokido staving off the set point. John Takeuchi still looking very strong in this match. Still looking just as dominant as ever.
Oh, anti-air ruffian kick, the roundhouse version. Trying to jump out of there. Back medium punch actually catches John Takeuchi. Forward throw in the corner. Checking with the buffer behind it. I love that from John.
And now looking out for the activation. Looking out for that light, medium, or the medium kick, or a light punch, any of those from Tokido. And at that range, just making sure that it's going to be real hard for him to find it where he wants. John Takeuchi with bar at the bottom, you have to worry about an EX Zonk at any point, or a light EX Zonk. Heavy will seal it.
Oh,
The
counter hit.
even a normal one now.
Trying to jump out, testing Tokido's patience. And his reactions at that. Standing medium kick activation is going to be pretty good for Tokido. Wait, what? John Takeuchi? Actually, he didn't get exposed low. He just ran into the EX flash knuckle.
Thought it was over. Tokido committed with it. John Takeuchi still sees one touch. This is so horrifying for Tokido. You can't swing out that medium kick any more so now because of that knife, but the light does what it needs to do and gets through to Tokido off that low. John Takeuchi on set point.
That's so difficult too. Tokido was in a kill scenario too. Had he landed a single hit into activation, I think he could have gotten the critical art for the death, but now John Takeuchi all over it. Delayed on the throw. Tokido has to hold that. No sir, not anymore. V-reversal. Big counter hit from the side of John Takeuchi. Keeps Tokido deterred, but now let's get the side switch. Look at the damage coming out.
Utilizing that medium. Hurt combo on the ground. Try to take it down, didn't commit to the counter hit. That would have been stunned. We'll get it done here. Tokido still in the game. Gonna use the super to seal it. This critical art is definitely critical because he needed this. He needed this momentum. He needed to take this away from John Takeuchi to take the wind out of his sails.
We're looking at one more game potentially, or sorry, this is going to be one more game in general, but we could potentially see the tiebreaker if Tokido can manage a W against John Takeuchi, who's done a fantastic job of adapting to what Tokido wants to do. He's been bulldogging a majority of these matches, and it's super satisfying to see too. I've never seen Tokido really back down as often as I have in this particular matchup.
It's great because I feel like, you know, that showcases how strong the scene is to be able to be on the level of Tokido. And not only just Tokido, the character that is Luke, like you see that there are answers against this character. There's ways to play against this character and have your own game plan of your character work out. Like Cody would love to build up that EX bar for the EX zonks and things like that. He'd love to dish out the big boy damage that you typically see, or the corner carry into Oki and things like that off the EX Ruffian. And being able to do so comfortably against a character like Luke, who has fantastic buttons that lead into Oki or damage, confidently, shows me that people are at that same level, at that same range as one of the top gods of the 2D fighting games. However, Tokido has, again, been finding better ways to play this character. Instead of just poking away and finding really nothing off of it, and maybe just always going for Oki, he's finding damage, he's finding hit confirms, and he's making now even someone like John Takeuchi a little bit less comfortable in sending out some of these normals.
Round one.
All right, we're not seeing as many standing medium kicks come out from John Takeuchi, but let's see if he goes back to that strategy. And as soon as I say that, he started things off with a walk-up into a standing medium kick. But again, he's throwing them within the ranges that are going to be like blocked by Tokido majority of the time. The second one we saw. The third one, both of them whiffing. Tokido not making much of it. The fourth one does get hit finally from Tokido.
Tokido a lot more antsy, making it harder for John Takeuchi to place it. He's going to place that face to face with that crush, that four fears. Ooh, the finesse and bless, too far out for the grip. One more good sequence will do it, caught him, walk it back with a crouching light kick, and just like that, we are back to mid-screen. Low Ruffian for the Oki. Again, those media kicks, harassing, building up that bar. Tokido has V-Trigger on his side, can rule the narrative of the neutral with those V-Trigger fireballs. But I talked about how careful you have to be with that medium kick when the knife is out. With punish from John Takeuchi.
Yeah, I love that V-reversal. He's not going to really use V-Trigger for like pretty much a closer. He wants to make sure that any sort of EX zonks that come his way don't get the potential that it could yield, right? Doesn't want to get any sort of like frame trap going against it.
Oh, so carefully
there we go. The
fireballs.
Within range.
Anti-air. Trying to make it not minus and not punished. I like that for Tokido. Now gets a little bit more liberal with it and lets loose the fireballs to make it fall. Tokido back in the driver's seat. Could take this for his team to give us that first one. But still has to get it done. One more round.
And Tokido touched it out with 20 points for his team to bring us into the 7th game. He's getting closer and closer to it. The exposure off the low forward leads to this exact sequence, +1. Bring a couple of the mediums too. Yes, sir. I love that from John Takeuchi.
Using the high Ruffian to get outside the corner, but he's still Right back in. No cross cut again. Again, Vicious. Again, the no cross cut situation.
Telling you, man, it's real. Oh boy. Oh. Like a back throw. That could still be a problem. That's the first time we've seen the sway. Uh-oh. You're forced to hold it. Not for long. EX uppercut. Tokido is looking to take it down. One more touch away. Walking block is going to be so difficult with Thermal Barrack and Sandblasters.
One more hit will do it. Gotta play this carefully if you're John Takuchi trying to walk into the corner. Just that final game, final round will even go down like that. Tokido.
And no knife either.
So it's EX bar. Oh.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
I got one more.
Loaded right in front
Two
of him.
more.
Plus frames, he has to hold it. And the counter poke is there. Tokido picking and choosing his crouching jabs wisely at the right time. Keeping it alive for V6 Plus FAV Gaming. No shutouts for you. We're going to a sudden death.
Heck yes, this is what I'm sure people at home want to see, but maybe not compliment Detonation as this run back lands in the favor of Tokido. And I gotta say, this is the play I expected from Tokido. Yes, he missed a few cross-ups here and there. Yes, he's maybe not fully on point, but this game plan right here, get aggressive when need be, go back to that lane play with the fireball style and things like that, and have these bursts of aggression, just mixing up the stylistic things that you would typically want to see from Tokido is how we wanted to see him operate, and he's finally found that. I saw that at the CPT World Warrior event. It's gotten even better out here at Street Fighter League Japan, where somebody like John Takuchi was not deterred from running his own game plan with the medium kicks, the EX hawks, and things like that. But it's a wrap as Tokido takes us to the first to one, the first to death situation.
Really kind of curious to see who's going to step up to the plate for these two teams, right? And we see the stats here. The anti-airs, damn, they're on point, right? How often did Tokido jump in on John Takeuchi to force some of these airs, right? 10 out of 16, a pretty big deal. Then, of course, the EXDPs, we didn't really get to see that from Cody. But, hey, 2 out of 2 the times that we let it rock from Tokido, 100%, pretty damn good. And also, the amount of throws, the throw strike game has been pretty potent from this side of Tokido. Although I will say, John Takeuchi, he had teched the majority of them, right? Or at least like a good half of it, 53%. But still, getting hit by 7 throws is a pretty significant difference in comparison to getting hit by 3, right? We start to see that kind of damage really, really pile up. So that's just pretty much the tail of the tape. I think Tokido overall, introducing some of these strike throw mix-ups and also keeping John Takeuchi preoccupied with the normals on the ground, had been able to successfully jump in more often than not. So whether hit or miss, you're still going to be in his face, right? That's the whole objective is Luke. So I think overall Tokido had a very firm game plan despite being at the deficit in the early part of the set.
Yeah, he did fantastic running back like that. And honestly, when it comes to this first one, I'd like to see Tokido come back up. He's already warmed up. I think this play style is still perfect for a first one. But on the other side of Team Detonation, I'd like to see Oreo come up. I feel like he is the king of first ones. That play style is so hard to fight in terms of how he is so aggressive, and it's so hard to get the data on him. And even when that does happen, it's still hard to figure out a game plan in the moment. And the first one means obviously one match. The camera's focusing on Tokido. So it's going to be Tokido Luke. Who would you send up, Vicious, for Team Detonation?
I agree with you with Ureo all the way, man. I think Ureo would be a pretty big deal. But John's gonna go up. Oh snap! I like that. I like this even better. I think
Okay.
him coming fresh off the match and still thinking about the loss and still thinking about the strategies and maybe like the counterplay. I think this is an appropriate call out. I think this very much so is an appropriate call out.
I mean, my man's probably mad as hell. He's just like, if I could have just did this and that. Honestly, went to the final game, so there just a few things to clean up, man. Just a few things to clean up. This was gonna be fire. This is gonna be fire.
I love that. I love that energy. It's so sick.
Yeah.
We're getting we are getting a couple of
fighting
words
with
as we get ready for the sudden death match between both Tokido and John Takeuchi. I think for the most part, you've heard it already from the side of V6 plus FAV Gaming. They're pretty much wishing good luck to Tokido, and he was pretty much like, let's get it, man. I'm ready. In regards to like the response to John Takeuchi coming up to bat again, not really a big response. It's not something that he was expecting, but he's ready for it regardless, is what he was saying.
I feel like you kind of, in a way, you kind of have to expect that person wants to come back and get that revenge. We saw that with the Mago versus Bonchan match, where after Mago had won, Bonchan was like, no, send me up again. I can do this. I can do this. You give me one more chance. It didn't happen like that, but this could be a different story. Remember that Compliment Detonation took it over V6 FAV Gaming previously. Will we see the same thing here at the first one? At least it's different in terms of points differential. One will be leaving 25, one will be leaving with 20, so it's not going to be a big blowout. However, you want to get as many as possible out here to qualify. You're going to get as many as possible to take away from the other team. Even if it's 5 points, 10 points, 40, doesn't matter what it is. Everything matters and everything hurts.
Yeah. Especially with the way that the two teams have placed thus far on the leaderboard, right? I think, V6 plus FAV Gaming, they needed as many points as possible, right? They were already at deficit, being 0-2 for their first couple of games. At this point, the most they can get, obviously, is 25. It's still going to keep them outside of the running for the playoffs, though. That's the thing. I had initially spoken and talked about the top 6 teams. That's pretty much how it's going to be for... I think Street Fighter League US and Street Fighter League EU, but for the most part here in Japan, it's a whole different story. Looking at it right now has been pretty hotly contested getting into that 5th place, because Saishunkan Sol Kumamoto is still the big gatekeeper at 160. Both of these teams, as it stands now, won't be able to break that threshold just yet, but still, you have to get as many points as possible.
Absolutely. You still have some more weeks to play. Obviously, winding down less and less. But as you said, you need to get as many points as possible. You need to get as many on the board and take away from the other team too as well. So John T, he said, I played well, but I still made a few mistakes, and I kind of agree. I feel like there was just a few more mistakes. Like I like that he didn't take the medium kick off the game plan in totality. However, there are points where he's getting punished too much. You have to learn when to reel it back just enough to where you can put it back on the table. You never want to take away, I don't think, your full game plan away from everything. I don't think you want to rip up your game plan and start anew. What you want to do is pull back when you need to and then put it back in the forefront. We saw it from Tokido. Let's see if that happens with John Takeuchi. Remember, 1st to 1. Let's see who gets it done. John Takeuchi, Tokido.
We'll see how this plays out. Again, this is a sudden death match. 1st to 1. Cody, navigated by John Takeuchi. Luke, piloted by Tokido. This is do or die time, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see who gets the better half from this run back. Already exposing the lows. Low medium kick in the first hit. Tokido now also showing off with the stand medium punch. Man, finding all the right target combos, finding all the right openings against John Takeuchi. But his counter poke game has been very strong out the gate. Stun, gets to charge up the V skill. Here comes the damage.
A ton on the board, charges up once again. The lazy Oki for this express situation to get that V skill. One more hit will do it from the side of Tokido. EXDP lets it loose. And this is looking a lot more free than what we saw previously, as Tokido starts off a lot more aggressively, getting a lot more hit confirms, and feeling a lot more confident. John Takeuchi, whip punish, round start, gets that medium kick.
You can see the sense of urgency. You can see the aggressiveness and the aggression, I should say, coming in from the side of Tokido, being a lot more active with his buttons, placing him in places John Takeuchi would like to occupy his normals. But now Tokido making John Takeuchi guess more often than not. Back-to-back throws now. Plus frames after that. Air to air, target combo.
Down on the ground. On the activation. My turn to pull the trigger. EX blocks it out. Yeah, has to hold the throw. But this is fine. Tokido can't make the comeback. He's got the V-trigger at the bottom of the screen. Flip, let those thermobaric blasters let loose. If he can find an opening, he'll get it right here. Into the super.
I lied. Oh. No, you can't.
This will clear it out.
Woo! John Takeuchi letting freedom ring on that one. I do like that. The ruffian kick to finish it. Now all tied up. Still critical art on deck from Tokido. Yeah, he got the target combo off, but that sequence doesn't lead into critical art.
We're not going to the jab and the super. But right now, Tokido is absolutely okay. He's got all the bar at the bottom, but the bars utilized by John Takeuchi for the Oki and the V skill. He is just so confident with that -4 situation that John T has been punishing. But Tokido utilizing that for this spacing game. Side switch, I like that. Gets the counter hit, quarter carry. Medium ruffian for the damage. JP's game to win right here.
There we go.
So that activation.
This is not going to kill, but it's going to lead to a very, very advantageous position for Tokido. Look at the amount of damage. You're at least like a back throw away, possibly. And look at that. Thermal Barret also in sight. Yes, sir. Yeah, John Takeuchi still being able to navigate past at least the first one. He can't use the second one. Oh, he can.
Oh, I'm trying to put on the screen. Medium kick. Fireball. Wants to jump in. One more hit will seal for either side. And he'll fall to the fireball right after Tokido. Taking the run back and taking the W for his team.
Low forward into the shot, the Sandblaster. John Takeuchi thinking that Tokido wasn't going to follow up with it, and that's pretty ambiguous, man. Either way, like John Takeuchi, he was trying to bulldog his way into like low forward territory, thinking Tokido wasn't going to press a button after that. But still, that delay, or sorry, the cancel into the Sandblaster. That's something that Tokido hasn't really been doing anyway. So John Takeuchi thinking, you know, he's using his getting his pro instincts used against him, right? He's like, oh, this is a negative frame button. I'm gonna move on in. Not quite, not today.
Plus it was minus. It could be punished too as well. So there was some risk behind it. But Tokido, again, as you point out, hadn't really been doing that, and that caught John T off awares. That is the run back, the first one. That means V6 FAV Gaming leaving with 25 points and a W, getting revenge for their previous situation, their previous match they had with them, where Conflict Detonation had taken over. But V6 looking a lot better, a lot more stable, and the likes of Tokido looking way better as just overall as a Luke player.
Yeah, very, very solid adaptations thus far from Tokido. I loved seeing the aggressive play out the gate too. I think I would love to see that a little bit more from the side of Tokido against like any of the players he plays off against. But that really depends on like if the player solicits that kind of gameplay. John Takeuchi being very big in the counter hit department, or at least, you know, throwing in some of these medium kicks. This character Cody, it's no easy feat to try to play aggressive against Cody, I feel like.
You're worried about all those buttons, the EX Zonk too, and the damage he can dish out. It's difficult to even outpace the character or poke a character, even when you are Luke. But we saw Tokido rely upon that light punch, which I think is a fantastic button. Can't be punished, but was really good. Overall, though, they're giving out the winning interview right here as they're focusing on Tokido. I'm really curious to see what he has to say about his new game plan, is what he's doing differently with this Luke, what he has like kind of pinpointed or evolved with, because we saw that at the CPT. We saw him get a lot more aggressive. We see it here today in terms of his play, in terms of, you know, being more reliant upon his normals and being a lot more active, especially in the early starts of the round. I'm curious to see what kind of like sparked it in his mind. What kind of sparked it in his mind to say, okay, I have to play this way? I'm very curious to see if we're going to get that, or what else we're going to hear from him.
Yeah, I think overall, I think the playstyle that Tokido was utilizing in that matchup shows a lot of promise too. I think this is like the perfect time to really start to try to use the characters that you intended to use, right? Tokido had been playing Urien for, I think, majority of his games, if I'm not mistaken, right? There's a little bit of reluctancy to do so because not being able to get some of the big confirms off of like Flash Knuckle can be a problem on the internet. I get it, right? So him going to Urien is always going to be like a decent deal, but I would love to see this Luke a little bit more, right? I would love to see this confidence from him a little bit more.
Yeah. I'd love to see that a lot more. We're seeing more Tokido later on, I'm sure, especially as these tournaments go down, especially as we have more Street Fighter League Japan for all of you. Again, we're getting more of this interview. We're going to get more of those words real soon here. Love to see how these other players, maybe not getting the W's that they did, how they felt about Tokido's W, you know, riding it back for his team, what they need to do in the future. Because there's a lot to take from what we saw in these matches, like in terms of playstyle and adjusting Like, and also just adjusting to the character choices. I feel like saw Sako, he was fairly aware of how to deal with Rose, but maybe not to the fullest extent, and also not able to deal with a lot of these tricky situations that we saw, like that meaty situation where he's knocked down after the stun and then off the screen orb explosion. So Torimeshi says, when it comes to tournament, I get defeated. John and Tokido did such a great job. Where they're talking about how their play was in terms of like it being a good match.
Yeah, I will say, like, I don't think Sakonoko. I will slightly disagree with you on that one. I don't think Sakonoko handled the Rose matchup that well. I think it was more so just Sakonoko's offense that was superb and caught Urio in places where he shouldn't be. Like, I think it was a matter of Urio not really knowing what to do against Minato V-Trigger. But outside of that, I think there was a lot offensively that Sakonoko wasn't ready for, right? One of the biggest things that I see is like people who would neutral jump against a Soul Spark, right? Anybody who neutral jumps against a Soul Spark is asking to get hit with a Soul Spiral more often than not. And Urio, he baited that out twice over, I think, in that set. There was a little bit of unfamiliarity with that one. But other than that, I mean, like, round start Soul Punish against some of the orb throws that Sakonoko wanted to do, that's a big thing that should have been looked out, something he should have looked out for, too. I think there's a lot of possibilities where Rose can get the better against Minot in the opening gambit.
Yeah, I didn't definitely see that. Sako saying right here, probably discussing that exact match. But once again, good stuff to V6. The winners of the last season, they weren't always the most dominant team. I think they were hovering around like 3rd and 4th, but they obviously qualified and were able to take it in the end against Good 8 Squad. Being not so dominant in terms of, getting these W's out here, this has been a long time coming for them. I need as many wins as possible to be up on the board. Don't think they're going to be able to clear the likes of Saishunkan Soul Kumamoto, but I like the fact that they have that energy and that heat still in them, that fire, to say it's not over yet. Oh, by the way, says that we won 25 points. We'll prepare ourselves for the next match against Gyogun coming up the next time they show up on the screen. And this is going to show up on the screen too as well. The Anti-Airs from the side of John Takuchi, checking the skies continuously against the likes of Tokido, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough to defeat someone like Tokido. The DPs, EXDP that came through from Tokido showed me that he was very confident. Also, utilizing that light punch that was very minus that has been punished. Tokido was undeterred.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we saw there, 0-5 in regards to the strike throw game. I don't think there was a lot to be said on that one. I think, Tokido getting 5 throws against John Takuchi tells you a lot about how reluctant John was to even try to press a button against Tokido, who's been peppering a lot of these frame traps from the set prior. So that statistic speaks volumes, right? 0-5, not having a single successful teched throw is something that really took away from how Tokido wanted to play. Again, very aggressive right out the gate. Exactly how you should play it in a sudden death match. We see that kind of tendency for a lot of the players that are in the death match. So loved seeing that from Tokido. Here we go into the replays, though. Tell me a little bit about G going up against Torimeshi, piloted by Idazan. I think, he had a lot of... he pretty much did exactly what we were thinking, right, with the activity on the screen.
Yeah, noticing that Torimeshi loves to get flighty with it, goes for the flip kicks and things like that, the anti-air V skill, and look at that, caught him trying to leave, so I'm not done talking to you. I like him go for the presidentiality. Wasn't able to make the most of it at all, like all times, but utilizing the fireball, utilizing the flip kicks and things like that, finding spaces to get that presidentiality leveled up and make the most of these corner situations was how he was able to get the W, and making the strike throw game so ambiguous that he was able to get 2 command grabs for the price of one to get it done. Look at that, just being able to harass Torimeshi up in the corner, and we didn't see that until the very end of the set, so that means that he had put it in his game plan, in his mind, and Itabashi walking with a big smile. But what did we see when Sako came up against Uriel?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, right? Sakonoko had actually gotten the big comeback. You see the round on the screen from game number 1. It didn't lead to as much of a result that you would expect it to, right? I think Urio, again, being able to rush Sakonoko down just tells you a little bit more about how unfamiliar Sakonoko really was in this matchup, right? Urio pretty much forcing a lot of guess for game scenarios. And again, look at that, just unable to stop Urio. And to be fair, that could have been a jump up Soul Spark. Right, that could have been like a delayed jump Soul Spark instead of an empty jump low. He was forced to guess a lot. So But for the most part, we talked about some of the ranges that Sakonoko wanted to play at against Udio, right? We see these sequences a lot, right? Sakonoko is going to get these W's off of like critical art finishes because of V-trigger. But when it comes to everything outside of that, Udio just shows up to be so dominant. Look at this, yeah, and then the stun afterwards. How did he even get to that position, you might ask? Well, Udio occupied a lot of that space with some of the roundhouses and also getting some of these throw baits with medium kicks. So I will say, very impressive play from Udio. Going into the last match, John Takeuchi looked to have a very promising start, despite seeing that... actually, Tokido looked to have a very promising start, I should say, getting game number 1. But that wasn't really the case, was it?
It wasn't, because at some point we saw the medium kick come into play a lot from John Takeuchi, putting on the deck, and Tokido really hadn't found a good button to take him down, and this sequence was super sick. Chase him down with the X Fireball. However, Tokido utilizing that light punch, it's risky. On block -4, if you're in close enough range, you will find a punish as a Cody player. However, Tokido started finding better buttons, finding more confidence as the set went down, and start taking round after round. Even the jump-ins, even though he was anti-continuously, Tokido wouldn't take it off the table. Look at that confidence in the corner, harassing these buttons at a range where they may be minus, but it is a space trap like that, and finding a lot more off these confirmed, something we didn't typically see from him in the league. So again, getting better with this character, getting more stratified with this character. In this first one, in the final match, really see all that confidence come into play as he just eliminated John Takeuchi continuously. There were some wild instances where John Takeuchi wasn't able to capitalize, and a point where I felt like Tokido could have went into light into super. But either way, that risk found reward. Playing against the pro player instinct with that fireball at close range, he would never. It's minus. He's going to be punished. However, this is Tokido, and this is the genius gamer.
He can't punish. Cody cannot punish low medium kicks. That's the thing, right? He doesn't have a Cody doesn't have a 3-frame normal. Yeah, I mean, like, no, I mean, even with the fireball from that range, he's not going to be punished. That's the thing. It's just, it's too quick. Like, there's no shot. Like, Cody didn't get hit with a counter hit. He blatantly, like, walked forward to reclaim space. But that was the thing. It's like, no matter what, like, I think, he was going to be forced to block. And that's tough. Like, I don't think Tokido had shown off low forward into Sandblast that often against John Takeuchi. But it is what it is. That's just how it goes, man. What are these characters in the background? Like, do you see the artwork on Birdie? That's pretty cool. Like,
bro,
with
that is dope.
How wild! I'm so curious to see, like, is this like officially licensed Capcom merch? Because I've never seen these characters before. It looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it does. Also, what's super sick is good spot taking the top spot. They'll be coming through eventually too. But again, it's so close in terms of what team is going to take this. The points are getting closer and closer. The gap is getting smaller and smaller. And not just the points, the skill level too as well. So those are official t-shirts actually clarified by production. Definitely want to see that. I want to see Street Fighter 6 come out soon. We don't know what's going to come out. I hope it comes out early in the year. Whenever it's going to come out, I'll be ready for it. We're definitely going to crack out on it as much as possible. Just how do you feel about this game?
How do I feel about this game? I'm pretty sure you know, man. Like, I've been pretty ecstatic about it from out the gate. I mean, like, that's pretty much like the general consensus, and pretty much that's the majority of the feelings across the board in regards to Street Fighter 6. But yeah, I mean, like, we're expecting it to be. I mean, it's gonna be like next year, right? So really looking forward to it. I just want to know exactly when we're gonna get even more information, right? they're currently having a tour in, like, I think Thailand's like Comic Fest. I did see Matsumoto-san and Nakayama-san out there showcasing Street Fighter 6 and also having a Street Fighter 5 tournament. Now, with that said, we still have a lot more Street Fighter 5 to come real soon. After this break, we're going to see Gyogun face off against Hiroshima Team Ikuza in their run back. You guys do not want to miss it. Again, showing all the love and support. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you after this short break.
それではこの後は試合準備のため一度休憩に入らせていただきます。21時28分頃からは第8節の Day2 マッチ2魚群対広島チーム戦、こちらの対戦の模様をお届けしていきます。それでは一旦失礼いたします。
安全にな。
お、新入りかな。うん、いい顔に撮れてるじゃないか。改めて担当教官のルークだ。よろしくな。
始めるとしよ
勝負だ。
う。投票入りでごわす。手加減は期待しないでくれ。
Here comes a new challenger. Street Fighter 6. Scrap heap. Ready. Start.
さあここからはマッチ2の
Back from the
模様を
break, we are here for Street Fighter League Japan, Episode 8, Day 2. Let's see what it do. As we have the second half of matches ready for all of you. Gyogan going up against Team Itsuka. Previously, when they had played, it was Team Itsuka to take the win. Well, let's see who will take it today. My name is Nicola. I'm going Vicious. How do you feel about this team coming up? Team Itsuka on the screen.
Well, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to get some of these points on the board. Again, the Captain Storm Kubo, the man who calls the returning Storm, at the helm. Gunfight following through the glittering personage with Alex and Oro. Of course, we also see Inaba who's been showing off that Bison in a pretty effective manner as well. And of course, calling out all the cowards out there. It's Crusher. Let's see it, cowards, using that birdie. Really looking forward to seeing what this team has in store to start to turn things around, because this is going to be the time to do so. We talked about playoff implications. They're currently sitting at the bottom with 55 points. They need every W possible, and it's going to be really tough with the team coming up next.
That is Team Gyogun, the 2D god himself, Mago. It's no longer September Mago, it's all year Mago, all day Mago. And up next to play is Mr. Optimal himself with an Akali pick, Machabo. After that is going to be Suzaku, Mizuha. You see Luke on the screen, but it's been primarily Cody. And after that is going to be the Hero Sunrise himself, Locate, with that fantastic Rishi play. And if need be, has the fall in the wings, ready and steady. This is going to be a difficult team to have to fight against. Again, Team Itsuka at the bottom, Team Gyogun actually in qualification position right now. But when they previously had met, when they had first met, it was Team Itsuka that was able to take it and give us our very first to one, first to death situation that we had seen in the league.
This is a very interesting lineup. When I had seen this prior to the show happening, I was kind of curious to see like how this is going to play out, right? I never expected Storm Kubo and Gunfight to both put themselves up with Alex. Well, I will say like Gunfight, that would be expected, sure, like Alex, but I didn't expect Storm Kubo to follow up with Alex as well. This is a very interesting lineup, to say the least, just because it's like you're sending up two of the same character, not really offering like a wide variety. You're leaving yourself susceptible a little bit 2 times over. But looking at the opposing roster, right, I feel like there's a couple of characters that might not be able to handle Alex. So maybe they're onto something here.
I think they are. I mean, obviously Luke has been a big detriment for a lot of people, and Mago has a Luke. Izua's got a Luke. I think Rashid does. He does maybe not as good as he used to against Alex, but you know he still might be able to piece up the character. However, they do have other characters too as well. They could go Oro, which might be weaker than Alex, to be honest. And for Storm Kubo, could go for the damn pick if he's gotten it better. He's shorted up in these past weeks when he hasn't been playing. But I do think that Alex is one of those characters that he's gotten better. He's gotten a little more stable. His game plan is a lot more stable. His command grab has more range in general off the light. His EX situations in terms of Oki have been a lot more stable too as well. So we'll see as Nakali is coming up from the side of Machabo to fight off in this first match. The already counterpicked the Bison. Not what I really expected, to be honest, to have Nakali go up against Bison just because Bison's neutral is so good. His buttons outpace Nakali's. You're really focused on the V skill, but Bison can, you know, preemptively scissor kick to get in and start that W situation. So this might be hard for a character like Nakali. However, the jump ins though that Macho loves to do, that Nakali can do, can be a pain point for Bison. You have to get predictive with the air-to-airs.
Yeah, Hamiko had actually suggested that Machabo be the counter pick for Inaba, specifically for the Dictator, right? I think there's a lot that Nakali presents in neutral. There's a lot of activity in regards to like his medium buttons. His fear stays out for a pretty long time and can kind of not necessarily outreach Bison, but it could be a huge deterrent for Bison to swipe maybe with like standing medium punch or swipe with standing heavy punch. But one of the biggest things you were talking about too is the V skill from Nakali. I think V skill does a really great job of chipping away at Dictator, but you also have to be wary of the Caesar kick, which could come in at any moment. But that's the thing. I think Machabo is well versed in catching when somebody is charging or not, right? So on top of that, yeah, I think you've hit the nail right on the head. I think, you know, Nakali has a fantastic opportunity to jump in on Bison more often than not because of how far his normals reach, or even if he wants to, he could go in with a dive kick. So I think there's a lot to be said in a Nakali versus Bison matchup. I think Nakali does just fine in it, so it doesn't surprise me as much. I think Hamiko again had a pretty good idea of Nakali, or as to why Nakali would be going up against this character.
Hey, makes sense. Machabo saying that just as we had thought, who would come up as the first player Game plan is all ready and set. I would like to win this. And Inaba says he expected he'd come. He prepped himself well. So if you're Inaba and you prepped yourself, you're looking for these jumper situations. You're looking to interrupt him in the air with the hell attack, or even stand in the air of range where crouch first is going to reach. That's going to be hard because Macho is going to be looking for you to stay locked down on the ground and get that V skill built up. If you are too stagnant in your movement, even with the character that's as slow as Bison, that's V skill after V skill into an early activation for Macho, where he really gets to get those dash situations where those little stubby normals start to become a lot more painful to deal with because of the dash and pressure from the Kali that gets enhanced and the damage done too as well. I think that stand fierce that you pointed out might be a pivotal point, because imagine that these buttons don't reach at these ranges, and the Bison player thinks that they can press, bam, crush counter into fierce in a corner carry with the disguidance into command grabs or normal grabs or the mix-up potential that the Kali can bring. Inaba's gonna have to be on his toes on defense, but this is a technical demon right here. Inaba can definitely do it.
See how this plays out, right? We were talking about some of the stats from both Inaba and Machibo. I think overall, Machibo has found pretty decent success with his Nikali, and Inaba, I think his record overall has been pretty decent. Still has plenty of time to get some of these W's as well. And I don't know if he's seen as much game time. Just looking at it again, I might have missed like the overall percentage, but as it stands right now for Team Ikuza, like Inaba pretty much started things off in a very convincing manner, at least in week number 1. We started to see the prowess he had up until like week 2 and week 3. He's still getting a lot of W's, right? But overall, I think he's been one of the biggest like point earners for the team, right? Up until like even like week number 4, 5 was where he actually experienced like his first loss. I feel like then it was 6 he lost as well. Let me see, where else did he get? Yeah, he's currently on a downward, pretty much a downward trend right now. But we'll see if he can turn it around. Again, this is where all the runbacks happen. I would love to see him come back and get a rebound with a W.
Absolutely. See if that happens. Machibo, if he's looking for that jump in, again, the cross-up area situation is where it's going to be happy to land. There's that B skill that y'all pointed out. Naba having to deal with that at the bottom. Don't want to build too much V-bar or get knocked down. And the crush off the fierce. You were definitely right on that call.
Here we go. Big buffer. We need from the side of Machibo already. Inaba's pretty much stuck in the corner. Looking to buy his time too. The stomp against the V-skill. I like that. Yeah, you pretty much treat Nikali's V-skill 1 as a fireball. So when you see the startup, using head stomp is such a good tool.
Quick, and if you miss time it, you're still fine. Now the activation for Inaba. He's gonna utilize this. Gets the counter hit. Probably thought it was gonna be a command grab from the side of Inaba. Macho caught slack, and now the activation.
You see the spit coming out too.
That's a bad breath.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity on that too. There's a lot of durability. That hit from that far? I've never seen that before. Oh. You're dead. You're hella dead.
Macho utilizing a V skill in a way I haven't seen in a long while. I've not seen that V skill utilized against Bison as an anti-air approach, but to be catching him off his toes and disallowing that aerial access. First one of Macho.
I'm not gonna lie and say I've seen that interaction before, Shankolo. I have never seen that spit hit from far behind that much. I have never.
Sir Optimal right here for good reason. B skill takes him down, still gets the throw, and now those T-Rex limbs can get in and start that oppression with the plus range, with the damage to find an opening. Crush off the heavy kick, B skill, EXDP, one more hit, instant overhead, you're dead.
Yeah, that could have been a big deal, but Machibo had risked, or had opted to go for the low, making Inaba think the overhead was coming, but the V skill again being very prevalent in this matchup. We talked about some of the early strategies. Bison can't get around that V skill as easy as most, not as easy, I can't say easy, that's not the word, as conveniently as other players or as other characters, right? That slow walk speed is such a problem, and also committing to a jump, or at least not committing, but like trying to react to it with a jump is kind of difficult sometimes.
Yeah, and that also can be a little bit of a bait. If you try to go for a scissor kick at the wrong range, that's an easy punish, or allowing the Kali to get close and personal where he wants to be. So I like this option. I like the V skill being utilized. I also like the V trigger, the spit on it. Like, I do like that he has been disallowing the aerial access again with the stomp. Disallowing these options from Bison overall has been really strong. And we also see him delete someone like Inaba, who can be defensive up in the corner continuously over and over again. Now we find an easy win so far from the side of Machibo. Let's see what Inaba has in store. Maybe more utilization of that V trigger, more of that grip to do it, more of the command grabs and that Psycho Crusher.
But that's the thing, right? Going for a Psycho Crusher is going to be so difficult because you'd have to give up some life to get it first, right? That's the problem. The closer you are to death, though, I feel like Machibo, his Ultra Instinct comes in, man. It starts to kick in. He just starts to desecrate and all of his opponents when it comes to that point in time. Sending heavy punch to check the movement against Inaba, jumping fierce, and now checking the V-shift as well. Machibo, pretty aggressive once he got his opening.
Or that momentum too. Get them the V skills as much as possible. Get that V trigger going and flowing with the quickness. And again, lands it even on block. Bad situation. The knockdown to make him drop. There it is. Off the heavy.
Starting to see that spit come out a little bit more. Still has the V skill. Oh yeah, running into it.
Oh, but no
Big
conversion.
interruption there from Inaba. Leaving damage on the table. Good anticipation for the spit. I like that. That's going to be Inaba's round. Off to a great rebuttal against Machibo.
Maybe the play is to use the EX bar for these feature situations. If he wants to set up the spit, get the invincibility on the stomp to get through it. Inaba staying alive. Raw this guy instead of leading the EX scissor kick preemptively, putting him in the corner. And he neutral jumps every so often, looking for the scissor kick option, the classic Street Fighter 2 style. The turbo style, should say. Oh, this is the DP. Inaba to strike back.
We got the sweep. Catching the V-skill preemptively. Now the throw strike game there for Inaba. Still countering against the V-skill with the EX head stops again. Oh, that's a counter hit. Oh, we didn't get to convert off of it. He gets to move for this though.
One more hit, we'll steal the scissor kick. He's gonna go for the super immediately. I like that option.
Don't get command grab, Dasha.
Inaba has him caught in the
Set up,
corner.
frame kill.
Oh, he heard you. He heard you.
That was also a desperate scenario.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Machibo, if he had landed that, it would have been over. Like, he would have had like so much damage on enough damage on the board to take it. But Inaba, trusting his instincts and going against the wave, or at least against the command grab, making all the right calls thus far too. He's starting to find a lot more consistency against the V skills. He's not running to as many normals in neutral against the Kali. I do like seeing this adaptation. Now I want to see what happens when Machibo becomes the aggressor, right?
Right. I want to see what happens here. Counter hit. This guy putting him in the corner and the throw. Wakes up with light and some violence with it. I like that 3-frame coming through from Inaba. Do something different on defense instead of just going for V-shift and getting got for it. And now the jumping calls it out. Trying to reset with a down forward fierce, but still gets a push to the corner and a lot of great life.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, like, again, he's pushing exactly what we were talking about earlier, right? I want to see him kind of navigate past the V skills and not be afraid of it as much. Like, don't have to stick to the ground all the time. Those jumpings pretty prevalent, but now Machibo, yes, sir. He's covering those options now. All the airborne approaches thus far, he's got his eye on them. Oof.
Keep up the feet. Gotta be looking out for that because of the V-trigger at the bottom. Inaba. EX. That was reversed. But the reverse of momentum with the back throw. Gets the meaty off the knees. Won't even need all the bar at the bottom to seal it in Machibo. Kills with the EXDP. It puts himself on set point.
Pretty clean start thus far. Oh yeah, just not in time to get a punish on the V skill, standing medium kick to keep Machabo grounded. Doesn't want to be susceptible to any of the jump-ins because we talked about one of the biggest weaknesses Bison has, right? Not being able to anti-air effectively. Running right into the knees, the dash up not paying off for Inaba, can't V-reversal, or sorry, can't anti-air, so he opts for the V-reversal. Speaking of, Machabo firing right back with his V-reversal.
Vincent style. I like that. Keep him caught in the corner where Bison does not want to be. Wakes up with a light though, the 3-frame EX, and now no back throw. Good call from Machabo. Detect that. EX plus frames. Yeah, you have to back away in that +1 situation. Now the slide. With one more good sequence. Will deny. Inaba. Too far for the EX stomp though.
Just one more touch away. Inaba does have the right spacing for the anti-air. Plus frames again. Checking the movement. 2 times over. Machabo does get counter hit the first time. Oh boy, that could have been so bad.
That'll be so good right here for Machabo. Again, one more touch. The jumping gets the win, just as we told y'all. Hard to check that aerial space, and Machabo knew it. Gets a jump fierce, and puts a game on the board for his team.
Too bad, not too bad at all. Again, Hamiko making the right calls early, where he's pretty much showing off why the counter pick from Machabo would be so advantageous for the team, right? Gyogun taking the first 10 points against Inaba. You can see Inaba pretty much just sitting trying to contemplate how to even go about that matchup, but he won't get to contemplate that as much unless there's maybe like a sudden death scenario. But outside of that, again, I feel like, you know, Gyogun, Team Ikuza, they won't get these runbacks after this week, but Machabo already making a pretty bold statement, coming back, actually repeating results from week number 1.
Yeah, he got the W last time, and we'll get the W today. And fantastic play. I mean, Mr. Optimal, I feel like that also details his game plan in dealing with Bison. DPing the EX doubles reverse at the right ranges, really getting these jumper situations and the V skills too as well. At a range where he'll recover in time to be fine and land a DP on the jump ins. And you see the anti-airs on the side of Machabo. I felt like there were a lot more, but maybe I'm just bugging a little bit. He's 3-7 on those. The side of Inaba, way less. And we talked about how it's hard for Bison to anti-air. There was one crouch fierce, but that was really it. In terms of text, 1-4 on the side of Machabo and Inaba, 2-10. So not a lot of grips coming through. But I will say, like, just the matchup knowledge was so good for Machabo. Right now, you have Gunfight to try to get some points for the team. Who do you send up from Team Gyogun?
I don't like Rashid in this matchup. I'm thoroughly shocked, or not shocked, but scared for Rashid in regards to playing off against the Alex matchup, because Alex normals can pretty much contest against it. So I'm looking for somebody that could kind of stop some of those mid-range normals. I do like Mizuha's Cody, but I also like Mago stepping up to play with Luke. I think either one of those would be fine. I think Mago's Luke would be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rashid, if he gets you in the corner, he could definitely roll him over, but they're focusing on Mizuha.
Yeah. A very, very animated call out from the side of Mago. I wish I had known what he actually said, but Mizuha was actually streaming not too long ago. I think I was kind of like navigating, you know, real DJ hours. I was navigating the Japanese timeline with some of the streams that have been going on. Mizuha has been pretty much putting in a lot of that work with that Cody in preparation for some of these matches. So I'd imagine Cody should be up to bat, because we haven't seen that Colleen come into play like ever. I feel like I think he's fully committed to this character now.
Yeah, I've seen him dabble in like training mode, but when it comes to like actually playing some matches, it's all been Cody. He recently, last time I saw him stream, he had like a 65 win streak with that character, and I was like, all right, you kind of get ridiculous with it, where he had a slower start with the character earlier this year. He's kind of found his path. Gunfight says, just as I thought, the Cody match, I have prepped well. I want to win this. And I think that Alex can present some problems to Cody. That crouching medium punch is good. The forward fierce is good. But overall, I think the narrative of the neutral is going to be ruled by EX Song. And that some of the better buttons exchanged, I should say, for Cody's play. And I think, you know, that V-Trigger one does a fantastic job of out-neutraling when Cody can't get the job done without it. So we'll have to see. As Mizuha says, in the second half, I've stayed home and prepped well. I would also like to win this.
thinking to myself, if you were Mizuha, I think this is the time where sway wouldn't really be advantageous to you. I think having like a reversal would be pretty important, especially with the way that Alex likes to roll, right? I think there's a lot of guessing on wake up. There's a lot of meaty pressure that could lead to a power bomb or like frame trap scenario. I think having the uppercut would be pretty important. But looking at it right now, Mizuha currently at a 33% win record, getting a third of his games going. Not too bad at all considering who he actually played off against, right? Good 8 squad and Nagoya Oja Body Star. Those are two very significant W's. So going into it now, again, Mizuha didn't get his chance to play against Team Ikuza from week number 1. So really excited to see how this Cody is going to fare up specifically against Gunfight's Alex, because he's been part of the Alex Nation for a very long time, actually. Even from when I met him from way back when. But the problem is he hasn't really been on the board as much, right? He hasn't been able to get some of these W's, winning 1 out of 5 thus far, and that was at the very, very beginning, at least with the sudden death match at that.
Yeah, that's been his only W so far, but you know, I've been watching his stream too as well, and it feels like he's starting to get a little more acclimated in utilizing his V-bar for defense when need be, and just filling out like minute situations to stay solid with the character, because Alex is good. He's been buffed. His game plan is better. His buttons are better. His anti-airs are better, but he still has the same problems as he did before. Lacking reversals. Some of the jump-in areas are a little difficult for Crouch Fierce to reach. When it does land, it hurts, but sometimes it just doesn't, and the crossfit situation for Cody is fantastic. Picked up a medium kick target combo. But I think overall, like, he's starting to get acclimated to how Alex should play this season, starting to figure out how to utilize the more risky moments, and pull him back when need be. I'm definitely curious to see how he's going to operate against Mizuha, because I've seen him play Cody's, I've seen him piece up Cody's, but none to the level of Mizuha, and none to the level that have shot up in terms of finding how to play a character like Mizuha, because it's been rare to see someone pick up a character and, I wouldn't say be bad with them, be like, you know, okay in the highest level of play, which is still pretty good, but really get to that top spot after a couple weeks and just make something, like something clicks in their mind, and they're like fighting the likes of Tokido and the rest at this top spot and getting W's for their team. So it's going to be a hard fight for even someone like Gunfight.
Really curious to see what he has in store to kind of get some of these W's and get some of these points for their team, because as it stands right now, again, Inaba not being able to score 10 points, they need as many points as possible. We're already at the halfway point. We're starting to get some of these runbacks, and like, again, being at 55 points, they'd have to win like, they have a very, very small margin for error at this point. Right, you need to get pretty much all your games at this point to even be within like the top 5 spots, or at least gunning through maybe like 3rd through 5th, all things considered. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, Alex versus Rashid. That's actually kind of curious. What? I was like, wait a minute. We had that's not right. I was like, wait a minute. So they had hopped into a match.
Probably something different with it.
By accident, right? Moke is not going to come up. He was a little bit too antsy and joined up thinking it was his turn, but I get it, you know. I'd be a little antsy too if I was put up on the... You can see him smiling! You can see him laughing in the corner.
He's like, I'll take down a Rashida, Cody, don't matter what it is. Gunfight going up against Mizuha. And I would like to see that V-Skill 1, as you pointed out, from the Cody player. You don't really need the sway in play. You need something to delete the EX stun gun headbutts. You need something to delete that aerial approach. But he's sticking with V-Skill 2.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can get that. Like, not a lot of players don't want to risk like the gray life. I get it. I would love to see it either way.
Yeah, true. Might need to switch if he loses, but we'll see. Crush off to a fantastic start and put him in the corner with that B skill. I guess it's also good because you get the extensions with that B skill. That definitely helps out building up B bar, not just for defense but for offense.
Oh. I want to see Gunfight occupy some of the spaces where Mizuha wants to play, but it's been pretty one-sided thus far. I think there hasn't been a lot being showcased. And yeah, I think there hasn't been a lot to intimidate Mizuha to stay on the ground. Just being able to jump the power bomb. There we go. Get it started. Power bomb.
EX too far out though. And the punish with the medium kick to do it. Mizuha outside the range of the forward fierce and things like that. But I think you're right that he needs to be better about occupying space and setting up shop. And the starter needs to be crouching medium punch. That's such a fantastic poke against Cody. It's going to deal with the medium kick before it comes out. And that's how you set up the other buttons, like forward fierce and the medium punches from the character. You're getting a little bit more activity off that button. Ooh, whip punch though, the heavy.
Oh. You see the counter post coming in from Mizuha as well. Does get the stun. Getting a little bit of extra meter on the board with the ruffians. It's a reset. Forward throw. Plus frame again. Forward throw again. Again, he can do all this again and again. Excuse me. How many times did I say again? I feel like it was a lot. But anyways, there's the sway play, as we mentioned earlier. Actually getting some utility against Gunfight.
Right before his feet even hit the ground, he used that B skill to take him down as almost hit there. I think he kind of dialed that one out, but it worked out in the clutch. Either way, just stable gameplay from Mizuha all the way through. Gunfight looking a little bit lost in this match. Again, Mizuha is such a different sort of Cody that you would typically expect. He's not your typical rank Cody out here. Have to adjust, set up, and be a little bit stronger for these matches and not let the heavy kick whiff.
We're looking at some of the normals that Gunfight is playing with, right? He counterpoked with the crouching jab a couple of times. We're now looking at him occupying the space with some of the mediums, but now it leaves him susceptible to the whip punish. And Mizuha is totally prepared to fight that fight, mediums versus mediums against Alex. Needs to get the activation, the reversal out. No, doesn't actually find success with it. Mizuha keeping Gunfight in this corner. Knife about to.
Knife throw, up kick. Shoots the next knife. And again, harassing with this knife with his range and not spinning a lot of bar. He's utilizing the normals to get that chip. X again, plus your situation off the low. Couldn't finish it, but he'll have one more hit, and the fierce will do it. Caught him leaving again. You have to pay the toll, and it's in your life. Set point.
Ooh. Is it the forward throw and now getting close to the corner? Slash activation, yes sir. That is a crush counter. Oh, I love that backdash from Mizuha as well. Yeah, the parry's still there. He didn't believe. He didn't believe in the parry. That was a two-hitter off the forward roundhouse.
It's your whole character. It's your whole game plan. One more hit to land, and Mizuha is going to take an EX situation for the plus frames. He's out of there with the EX. I like that idea, but Mizuha was just a step ahead. And he also gets the anti-air. That means Gunfight is dead, and that means Mizuha is taking this 2-0 with all the options on the table against his character. Very well prepped and very well prepared from Mizuha's Cody.
Yeah, I would have loved to see a little bit of a turnaround there from Gunfight, but that's just going to be how it is, man. Having an Alex could be a little bit tough to manage when you have another character that could do so well in punishing some of these normals, right? I think Cody does a great job of contesting against characters with longer range mediums. And we've seen that from Mizuha. One of the other things, too, is the amount of layers that Cody's presenting, whether it be from like Zonk, whether it be from like plus frames after throw. There's been so many Oki scenarios where Alex just can't really contest, and that's been one of the biggest like weaknesses that he has, is not being able to have any sort of reversal game plan. As much as a neutral monster Alex can be, it's tough in the upper echelons to even try to find that kind of reasoning to be like, all right, well, Alex is going to be doing great against Cody because of these mediums, right? Like, it's, if you're whiffing and the person can whiff punish, it's like, what else are you supposed to do now, right? You got to find the marks.
Right.
You got to
Cody,
keep it close contact.
Right, and Cody being able to take advantage of that situation continuously with a lot of bar utilized and the corner carry with the sway. Not always used in defensive play, but utilized to extend the damage and the pressure. I like that. And the anti-airs that were coming through, checking him leaving too as well. Not a lot of grips on the side of the Cody player of Mizuha. But I want to route it back a little bit in terms of how Mizuha's defense was so good to avoid the command grabs, avoid, getting strung up in the corner, avoid the EX stun gun that is really quick with it, but he saw the flash, got outside the corner immediately and stayed solid and was able to find the right space to anti-air with that crouch fierce, because you have to have the right timing for it. You can tell that he was ready for a matchup that you probably get to play on rank, but not at a high level like gunfight. So that means 20 on the board for Gyogun, about to get their revenge unless Storm Kubo can stop them.
Yeah, and Kubo actually hasn't been able to, or wasn't around to play in their first encounter, right? But Alex is going to be on the board for Kubo. I'd imagine, like, if this happens to fall short, he does have other characters. He does have, like, Abigail to kind of flex in if need be. But, yeah, as it stands now, we've seen what had happened with Alex the first time with Gunfight, who had mained him pretty much out the gate. I'm kind of curious to see what else is going to be coming out of this, because, again, Alex has been a little bit lackluster, at least for some of the players here. Moke is going to be the one to come up to bat against Storm Kubo.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little bit anxious previously. We'll get his chance. You know, in this matchup, it's not so good mid-range. I don't think it's good at mid-screen, because as you pointed out, the long buttons of 4 fears, even standing fears, crouching medium punch do really well against Rashid. If he puts him in the corner, it'll be what we typically see from like Rashid and Alex when someone like Gachikun comes up and just harass him in the corner over and over again. The lacking and slacking defense of Alex can get exploited. Storm Kubo says Alex is the strongest. That's a big declaration from Storm Kubo. We'll have to be very strong up in this match. Storm Kubo's his game plan, I like his idea now. The last time we saw him fought Fudo, he wasn't able to take the victory, but I like his ideas of being in these scramble situations and peppering that forward fierce, that Larietto, to get the crush, to get the party started. And that made people very afraid. That made Fudo, even the likes of Fudo, very afraid to counterattack in some of these sequences. And he would like to put him in the scrambles over and over again to get the W. But again, someone like Moke may be okay with that. He may be okay with these scramble situations. He's got the 3 frame for the defense, maybe not the EXDP like you did in previous seasons, but I feel like Moke might be fine with the scrambles too as well. Hope to see who wins where on the screen. If it's mid-screen, it's going to be Alex. If it's in the corner, it's going to be Rashid.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair analysis. I think overall, I think Rashid, as much as he likes to occupy some of the space with like heavy punch, standing heavy punch and crouching heavy punch, I think there's a lot that Alex can do as well to kind of deter that, or at least counterpoke against it. So we'll see how this plays out. I think Moke right now is feeling pretty confident about this matchup in general. I like the statement that he made. Also, I could always hear Moke was saying, like, you know, I always hear Kubo-san screaming. I think that's pretty much on character, on point. Storm Kubo is definitely a very animated cat. But take a look at the matchups overall. Storm Kubo finding the W's in very pivotal moments, right, against Shinobiism Gaming, and that team has been in an absolute hot streak these last couple of weeks. Finding a W against Saishunkan Seoul Kumamoto, as well as Kamufan Detonation. He's been on a pretty significant win streak. Storm Kubo still has yet to put a W on the board, right? So this is going to be pretty interesting too, because he didn't get to play in the first couple of weeks. It took him at least week 3 for him to get acquainted with the league. But as it stands right now, he needs to get this W, especially in the run back. This is going to be his first time against this team.
Elon and Narkun, I think, are the only 2 players to not score a W so far in the league. I might be mistaken. Oh, I'm sorry. Besides Waishi Mochi, those 3 players have yet to score a W. And it's difficult because this is a league full of the best in Japan, the cream of the crop at the top. Like, it's very difficult for any of these players, Tokido or otherwise, to get W's. However, as the captain, as someone who is so outwardly facing for the team, you want to get that W. You want to get that win. In the anchor position, you need to walk away with a victory. You need to be able to run it back for your team. Good luck, though. This is Moke. He's got that great corner play. Rashid versus Alex, first of 3.
And here we go. This is do or die time again. I feel like with Team Ikuza, falling short at week number 8 would be that would lead to their downfall. Really, they need to have this comeback, and they need to have it now, because again, we're getting closer to those playoffs. But Gyogun, as it stands right now, in a very, very decent spot. They're at currently 4th place, right? They have a couple more points now to help them pad those stats, get him ready for the playoffs. But now Moke, again, we're talking about it now. He's currently at the deficit. We talked about being occupied in the mid-range. Yeah, I like that slash elbow. from Storm Kubo.
The crush.
Chasing him
down.
down. There's Moke.
Oh, he caught the
Jesus.
V-shift. Oh. He knows where he needs to put him, and that's right in the corner. Call a corner. One more hit. It'll be the stun and done. B reversal. EX, the V-shift. Let's get a punish. No! Was able to get the follow-up, and Moke taking the better of the scramble situations that Storm Kubo would love to have in taking the very first round. The idea, just wrong execution from Storm Kubo.
Dude, I gotta say, the idea from Storm Kubo to V-shift that sequence was so sick. He just wasn't ready for the follow-up, which was unfortunate. I think that was just like unlucky. But Storm Kubo, he had the right idea.
For those mediums, of course. The party starter. Look at Moke. He's getting hit with the elbows, but he still feels confident utilizing those bigger buttons.
Oh. Checking out
Shift
the
again.
V-shift, yes sir. Moke's too prepared, man.
Right there.
For all the defensive stops, for all the defensive options that Storm Kubo's been presenting, Moke's had a counter for almost all of them. Again?
EX again, you can't V-shift that situation. Moke understanding that, utilizing the EX bar and trigger bar, the express purpose of blow up these V-shift too far out for the command grab and the eagle spike.
No, he was definitely within range.
Well, he backed that.
He called Storm Kubo out. That was so smart. I feel like, yeah, with Moke, he was already mashing off of the hit. Like as soon as Alex came in, he was holding West. He was mashing West for his life.
Get me out of here. Okay. Also, got to go back to the fact that he's blowing up the defensive options of the V-shifts that are coming through, making sure to utilize these fat fireballs, continue the pressure, and round start already using the light mixer.
Oh, now he's playing with them. We see the movement come into play against Storm Kubo, getting a couple of these throw baits. Now Storm Kubo, he's so reluctant even to press the button. He finds the opening now, and what an opening that is. Gets the side switch and a good amount of damage. Crush counter off the lariat. Stun, going for it. Charge it up. I'm ready.
The extension, of course, the knees if you please. Wow, the EXDP says it wasn't meaty enough for me. Back to mid-screen we go. Moke looking for a heavy kick activation at some point, or some sort of situation. Either way, he's pushing him to the corner, push Kubo to the corner. Right where he wants him.
Forward throw. Checking below and trying to meet him air to air. Again, EX spinning mixer.
Oh, boxing time. Okay, backing up. He's one good touch. In the crush counter from the crouch fierce. A button that we talked about that can be counter hit, could be dealt with, but he seems so comfortable utilizing. Moke's in his bag.
Yeah, as long as he's within range, he's gonna be just fine. And he was just outside of that range. Or sorry, he was just within max distance for that too. Starting to see Moke trying to dance around Storm Kubo just a little bit, but he's getting a couple of stray hits in the process. He's catching a couple of them.
Like the heavy kick against the crouch medium punch. Was curious to see what button will go against that button. Now he's got that crouch fierce well spaced up in his place at the fingertips for the crush and the follow-up throw. Puts the cleats on him from Kubo, looking for a way to activate. Or save that V-bar. Oh no, get off the heavy kick. Side switch.
He spent EX off with the slash. Oh, he doesn't regret it. Moke, he was looking for a crush counter. He's looking for the roundhouse now. It is -4, but he's not getting punished. He's too far. He's just way too far away. That's one sequence. That's another. If he lands a solid, clean hit, he could go into critical art. And that's going to be it. He finds that hit. He takes it all the way back against Storm Kubo. The amount of damage that Storm Kubo was trying to let on, he was trying to get a couple of more hits against Moke, but Moke only needed one. That's one of the bigger problems as Alex, man. I feel like he doesn't get some of these big damage conversions off of single hits outside of V-Trigger.
I mean, unless you're landing a crush, it doesn't feel like much is leading into anything. Like, you know, if you get Stand Fierce, you might get some corner carry off of EX elbow, but like, you're looking for these crush counters, you're looking for these crumple situations to find the follow-ups, and it's not happening. And also, again, The amount of offense is too much for the defense of even the likes of Storm Kubo. The V-shifts are getting blown up. All block situations are making him drop. He's even catching the dashes. Okay, feeling very confident. He's on game point for good reason.
Already off to an aggressive start. Moke pretty much putting Storm Kubo into the corner. Yep, V-shift out of there, getting away from the lariat situation. House check, nothing. Moke still, yeah, exactly it. Moke just walking and blocking the spot. There's the parry to ring out. Ugh. Double backdrop, V-shift out of there again from Moke.
Like that bar usage, using something different with it. A lot of ground for the side of Storm Kubo. Will even come into play. Well-spaced elbow at that right range. That crush medium punch. Forcing out the raw activation from Moke. The air to right there. No dive kick. You're not clear for flight.
A little bit of an uphill battle for Moke. He might be able to do it if he manages to build up a good amount of meter. He could get like 2.5 sequences to take Storm Kubo. Storm Kubo needs a clean hit off of a cancelable normal. Can he get it though? Oh, he said he tuck spin. That's just enough to Moke letting Storm Kubo get that dash in. Was all it took to get the W for Storm Kubo.
Well, with some EX bar utilized for the EX stomp, Moke get a little more defensive, a little bit less active with the buttons that we see. I kind of like that. That means Storm Kubo striking back in the right sort of way. Now utilizing that EX bar, even on block, to put him in the corner and the throw. Right where he wants him. How is Storm Kubo going to find a way to get out? EX stomp for the push. Elbow, max range. This time the break.
Yeah.
Good option here for Storm
Breaking
Kubo.
past the fireball. It's pretty smart. So yeah, Storm Kubo utilizing that V-base to kind of reclaim that space, but just like that, yeah, Storm Kubo stuck in this corner. Moke had initially fired off with that spinning mixer from that dash, but now it's going to be a ton of damage incoming and just enough to, this is going to be a dire situation, right? Despite both players sitting on critical art, I feel like, you know, one of two things can happen. Either the big hit leads to the corner positioning, or the big hit leads to a bunch of Oki scenarios, right? I'll let you guess who gets what. But Moke right now already off to what we predicted, getting that corner scenario. Yup, yes sir, Storm Kubo not able to get out of here, not able to relieve this pressure just yet.
Until that crouching medium punch coming through the activation. Side switch, chases him down with a crouching medium punch to connect against the V-shift. One more hit will get the stun and done. The wake up TK dive kick to leak that command grab off the table. What a smart option from Moke. Since that corner, he can still make the comeback. Storm Kubo, I mean, he's got EX bar at the bottom. He's got to find the right moment for that crush, for that corner carry. That strike throw. No anti right there. The finesse and blast. And the throw to put him to rest. Moke takes it over Storm Kubo.
And it's really rough. I will say Moke played to his strengths and fully understood what Storm Kubo was about early, taking advantage of some of the tendencies that Storm Kubo does have. That is a 40-point ball game for Team Gyogun against Hiroshima Team Ikuza. That is an excellent, excellent look for them going into how many points they have currently in the standings. That puts them at 205 points, bumping them up to third place, taking over Nagoya Oja Body Star Mildom, and being within 15 points against Shinobiism Gaming in second.
That is massive. Listen, and another massive loss, I should say, for Team Itsuka. I mean, the fact that Storm Kubo was starting to call out the V-shifts and catch some of these defensive tactics that Moke was forced to do was great, but it was a little bit too late in the set. A little bit too late in the set, we saw that V-trigger usage be utilized in the right sort of way. And a little bit too late in the set to start putting in the command grab game plan to really get in the minds of Moke. Moke, man, his play, the wake up EX dive kicks, the calls against the throws with the overheads and things like that. Gotta say, that was great play. Boosted up and got their revenge in the end, because previously, Team Itsuka was the one to take it. With that first one at the very end, was gunfight, clutching it out. But now it is Moke hearing the screams of Storm Kubo saying, "Oh, it might be silent now." He didn't say that, but I'm sure he's thinking it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to like the way that Moke was playing. There's a lot of familiarity against Storm Kubo, and I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think there's a lot of Alex players out there in Japan. So I don't think being familiar with the character would have been like a huge deal for Moke. I think his understanding of how Alex wants to play is already enough. Like being able to outpoke him, being able to outpace Alex, very significant at that. And once Alex gets pretty much knocked down, Moke gets the green light. His offensive pressure is relentless, and it's so impressive. So Moke, as soon as he got that knockdown, he was big chilling, to be honest with you. But you do see a little bit of the nerves come in, right? Moke had answered during the winning interview, during the recent match, he felt a little bit nervous because the anchor match is always going to be scary, right? He indeed said anchor match, or the anchor game, is quite scary. So he's super elated to have won that and being trusted with the duties of the anchor match.
Definitely don't want to be in a position where you have to go to that first one once again. That was what happened previously. So that one rely upon the first one is a fantastic look. And Macho says it was a bit tense at the beginning, but he stayed calm. We saw it in his gameplay. We saw his jumping situations come a lot calmer, his V skills and things like that, blowing up the defensive options of Inaba up in the corner, and really being just dominant overall up in that match. So I like that Machibo had a game plan, stuck to it, knew how to really enact that good pressure close range. We got the knockdowns with the V skills and stuff like that, and really make a character like Bison feel comfortable in the neutral at a space where even Bison can't play. He had to make some big call outs, was read every single time with a DP or an anti-air. Izua says not many people play Alex, as you would point out, in Japan, but he had good friends who did help him out, at least understanding the majority of the match. So even if they don't understand the totality of the match, they understand enough to get their game plan going and be strong enough for that match.
Yeah, I agree with that. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Not a lot of Alex players in the world in general, right? I think, having that kind of matchup knowledge won't be as available. I just think understanding the framework of Alex gives you a good understanding. There hasn't been a lot of players to really fully utilize the potential of Alex, right? So I think overall, Alex is in a decent spot in terms of like damage consistencies off of like lights, maybe off of like V-Trigger 2 and lights and whatnot, but there's just so much that he needs to even get to those positions in the first place, right? So who knows? Maybe I would love to see like maybe a Problem X use Alex against some of the players here in Japan. One can hope. That would be pretty sick, because we did get to see glimpses of that from like previous seasons of Street Fighter League US, right? I want to know like if Problem X still has that character in his arsenal. But either way, that's a question for another time. That is definitely going to be something that may be a possibility down the line between EU and Japan. But as it stands right now, given the context, not a lot of players are able to really pilot Alex to that degree thus far. So looking at the next parts of the interview, Mago had a good amount of words for him to say too. 40 points. He's about that life. He likes it. Moke as the anchor. They were deciding on their players, thinking of the opponent's order, right? Moke was saying he wasn't too happy about having to play that game, but Moke actually, he's saying that's why I kept my mouth shut until my game had come up. So Mago, again, having that W is always going to be bringing out the good vibes for that team. So Mago's been feeling it even beforehand. Like the way he was sending out players left and right, like Mizuha, he was very animated about it. So of course he's feeling himself pretty well, not having to play out, but still managing to get 40 points.
Good to always see your teammates do well, and again, matchups that you don't get to typically hash out. So you see their hard work be rewarded. On the side of anti-airs, 3-4 and then 2-4. So better on the side of checking that a lot with a crouching medium punch and get the side switch, which I really like him making sure he wasn't caught up in the corner as much as possible. Wasn't having to deal with the buttons of Alex up close, and being in a position where he can put Alex up in the corner too as well. And the DPs were flying for free 100% with Alex, or I'm sorry, with Rashid of all characters. With Rashid, who has been nerfed for his DPs, it's a lot slower this season, easier to media and bait out, was not happening from Storm Kubo. So that just shows you the comfort that Moke was in, the comfort level, the zone that he was in. We all get those EXDPs and understanding that you're not going to meet him in these situations. I'm going to let him rock. And right now, they are rocking with 40 points on the board, taking away, stealing away like Thieves of the Night. 0 points on the side of Team Itsuka. They are hurting, Vicious. They are hurting.
I don't feel like they were thieves at all, man. I feel like they've already pretty much evicted Team Ikusa from their playoff spot right then and there. They were the landlords. They were collecting their dues, right? They were trying to take back what was theirs already, really. You know what I mean? Like, I got to say the way it is, man. 40-point ball game for Gyogun, pretty impressive. So, as it stands right now, you know, we talked about Machibo playing against Inaba. We talked about why Hameko had picked this matchup as the counterplay against Inaba, right? We talked about how often Machibo has occupied some of the space against Inaba, too, and forcing some of these guesses. But Inaba showed a lot of prowess, showed a lot of potential, right? Kept it down pretty close down to the wire. I think this was the closest match we had in the entirety of this matchup between the two teams, right?
This was. But again, those jumping situations just too difficult for Bison to deal with. And what was also difficult is just dealing with someone like Mizuha, who, when he gets momentum, he's so hard to stop. Gunfight had some decent moments, but again, not being outpaced this character, outpoke this character, and Mizuha being able to outpoke him if you try to go for a standing heavy kick activation or things like that, or counter poking even the fierce. Like, again, good moments from Gunfight to get the crush counters going and flowing. Maybe more activation that we saw from Storm Kubo overall, but just too well spaced up in this place. And then we saw the Moke versus Storm Kubo blowout.
Yeah, blowout indeed, because again, it was a 3-0 shutout against Storm Kubo. Now, I will say there were some very impressive moments from Storm Kubo on defense, right? Utilizing that V-shift in ways we haven't really seen against Rashid, especially in that corner, reacting to the Eagle spike. I think that was really clever overall. I will say that I'm going to be taking a lot of notes in regards to like how Storm Kubo navigated this matchup specifically on defense, because I mean, Alex offense is Alex offense, like that's for sure. Like, I mean, there's not really a lot to say about that, right? There's gonna be a lot of counter pokes, there's gonna be a lot of like plus frame scenarios where you're gonna force the opponent to guess, but I did like the overall defense from Storm Kubo. It was just took one too many throws, right? That stat that he had was 6 out of 19 throws teched, right? 32%. That's a lot of damage, right? That is a lot of damage on the board. So it's one thing to note that there's just been so many instances where Moke was able to like deter Storm Kubo from pressing any sort of buttons. We see it right here, right? The throws and even throw baits too. It's just been super on point for Moke. We even saw like shimmies towards the end, man. Like Storm Kubo really couldn't catch a break against Moke's offense.
I mean, even when he's going for moments like this, wake up EX dive kick, delete the throw, and these one-touch situations were just too much to route it back from the brink. And Alex, without that V-bar, in terms of trigger, is going to be hard to make a comeback, especially against a character that can outpoke him in certain ranges. And Moke kept those ranges continuously. That means 40 points once again for the side of Gyogun, getting a big W for the team and shooting up the stratosphere. And as you said, evicting Team Itsuka off the table.
Yeah, I would really love to know like how the points are going to play out for Hiroshima Team Ikusa, all things considered, right? I feel like I wouldn't be too far away from guessing that they needed to get like at least like minimum 30 points for the rest of their weeks, right? Because there's about like what I think how many weeks left? Like 6 weeks left of gameplay for them specifically now in order to like try to be within playoff contention. So I want to know the implications. I want to know how many points they would need. As it stands right now, Detonation fell short to V6 plus FAV Gaming 20-25. Gyogun takes down Hiroshima Team Ikusa 40-0. But it's not going to be the last we see of the teams, right? Looking at the current leaderboard, we talked about it earlier. Good 8 squad still in the top. Shinobiism Gaming with an earshot, 30 points away at 220. Gyogun moving up in the world with 205. Nagoya Oja Body Star being knocked to 190. Saishun Kansou Kumamoto being the gatekeepers at 160. Now, V6 plus FAV Gaming, although they got some points on the board, still at 6th place with 155. Camouflage Detonation getting points on the board, a significant amount of points too, 120 at 7th. And now again, Hiroshima Team Ikusa still at 55 points. Really unfortunate, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, man.
That's right. You see this graph right here detailing how things have been going on. Obviously, Good 8 Squad having an upward trend and keeping it. Oja Body Star maybe on the downward trend, but we'll see. We're in this halfway position. We're getting the runbacks like that. We're getting these clapbacks. We're getting the reversal in terms of who's getting these W's. Even this week, we have seen people get their revenge. They have deliberated what they're going to do for their strategies. They've said, what am I going to do for my character picks, my character choices, my player choices? And we've seen something different. For a lot of these teams, it's going to be do or die. For a lot of these other teams, they're in comfortable positions, but they can't get too comfortable because they might get passed at any point, as the points are still pretty even. The next week, or day, we're going to be seeing FFP Gaming going up against Gyogun and Oja Body Star going up against Detonation. How do you feel about those matches, Vicious?
Really excited to see who's going to shoot up the leaderboards. Again, that's just been the main topic for a lot of these instances, right? It's going to be the run back for these teams, so it's going to be a switch up between the home and away position. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to come up to bat, who's going to step up to the plate with the away side, and who's going to get countered. I love watching all the pregame shows too from our casters, our commentators, and seeing their analytical brain go to work in regards to who to send up next. But that's going to be it for the most part. Week number 8 has concluded. We're going off into week number 9, which is going to be in a couple of days, right? Realistically. So again, you do not want to miss it. First and foremost, be sure to follow at Capcom_esports for those all the schedules for the games as well. You can follow at _St. Cola as well as at Vicious FGC when we retweet it for the official English commentary. For the most part, it's going to be very wild going forward. These points are going to be everything for some of these teams. You guys do not want to miss it. St. Cola, any closing thoughts?
All I'm going to say is keep it locked and loaded on all the official channels, whether it be the restreams or not. And we will see you in the streets for the next bout. Peace.
それでは今後のスケジュールのお知らせです。はい、ということでこのねキャンペーンのある第9節はこんな感じになっております。そしてもう12節分までねスケジュールが見えてきている。そうですね。もう佳境が目の前まで来ています。試合前の19時40分からは初めての方でもこのストリートファイターリーグを楽しむことができるウォームアップもお届けしております。こちらねハメコさんの組み合わせ予想も行っておりますのでぜひお楽しみに。それでは改めて本日ストリートファイターリーグプロ JP2022 本日は第8節 Day2 の2試合をお届けいたしました。解説はハメコさん、実況は私大和修平でお送りいたしました。それではまた次のストリートファイターリーグでお会いいたしましょう。さよなら。
さよなら。